All right, it's 10:30.
Move that we go back into our special meeting recess yesterday.
We have a motion to return to open session from our recess yesterday afternoon. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
With a reluctant aye from the sheriff's office.
In District 3.
In District 3.
I think everyone was reluctant to do one.
You're an aye under protest? Okay, we were still on item number 4, discussion of possible action regarding follow-up questions related to any fiscal year 17-18 estimate and needs. It's already been presented.
I guess the only thing left is just, Jamie said we're going to discuss by the end of the week.
All right, we pulled everything out for the most part that we had discussed yesterday. And right now, what's our dollar amount that we're dealing with? 3.6. Okay. Christie, where would the arbitrage
General government.
go?
Yeah, general government.
Do you know how much?
I don't. There's 2 that need to be calculated. I wouldn't anticipate any rebate. It would just be the calculation charge. Maybe 15, about 5 each, 10 to 15,000.
Okay. We'll put 15,000.
Yeah, that
Some
we
of
need
the,
to do that in July, or you want to wait to get an exact amount and do it in September?
I can do either. I anticipate doing it before September. There was one that needed to be calculated as of April 1st, and I just kind of got behind with refunding that whole bond thing that we just went through on another bond issue. After budget time, I'd like to get on it.
so what's your pleasure? What do you want us to?
Let's do 15 now.
Well, it's 25, and then part of that
Well, I
was.
was thinking it was the 2 that I'm thinking of plus the refunding, and we got to pay for the refunding one out of bond proceeds that we had for bond council, so now it's just 2.
Okay.
And I did 25 because that one was a lot more, I was expecting that to be a lot more because it was so entailed, because all the FEMA money, and they had to really just decide what was bond proceeds. It took a lot longer,
Mm-hmm.
so. I mean, 15's going to cover it, easy.
Okay. Well, there's, we've got utilities and a lot of stuff in there that's kind of moving targets. So $5,000, here or there in that particular budget is not going to be
Yeah.
a huge issue. Danny, did you put a comment in there that 15,000? That's okay. Thank you. It was 2 steps ahead of me. What was the other adjustment, the other 15? Do you remember?
Made some adjustments on the actual need, so.
Yeah, that we can.
5,613.
And the reason why I ask is because if we're gonna make a detailed recommendation, then we need to make sure that it goes, that we know where it goes,
Right.
in which category.
Right. And we kind of trimmed this back based on the original estimate we took out the capital. We lowered the utility estimates. So there were several things.
Okay, but it was all M&O, right?
Yes. Yeah, no, it was just the capital.
In the 15,000?
That was 10.
Lowered about 45,000. 10 of it was capital.
10 was capital, and then we lowered utilities and sewer and water, I think, 800,000 even each. That's the difference between.
Well, if you said we took 45,000 out, if 10,000 was capital, then the 35,000 was M&O, right?
Right.
So, and even if we're making a line item recommendation, it's not gonna be that sub-line. So we can just put on there in the comments, that 10,000 is from the capital request, 35,000 is from the M&O request, and then 15,000 is added back for arbitrage. I think in this adjustments box, if we can keep track of what we're allowing for as far as increase off of a prior budget or what we're taking away from a prior budget, it'll be easier when we get to our recommendation if we're wanting to do the line item recommendation. We'll know exactly what that stuff's tied to. All right, what else, folks?
Go ahead.
Well, economic development is lower. And please forgive me, Mr. Chairman, if I'm kind of out of sync here, but it's a lower request. Are we
That was
dropping that back?
Well, that was the amount of money that we received above and beyond the amount that had to go back towards the bond proceeds for that, was it 1973, the Boeing deal. So they wanted, the budget board wanted all of that money to go into it, to go back into economic development and keep it in there. There's been money spent out of economic development fund this year to the tune of $15,607. So the idea is we're gonna keep that money in the account, but we're not gonna replenish money that's been spent. Is that?
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
But the request is low. But we were rolling back stuff to last year, right? So my question is that the exception?
I'm not following.
The 2016-17 budget is $395, the request is $379.
I think we were trying to treat the original amount of the 595 just make sure it stays in economic development unless we spend it. So we spent 200 last fiscal year, this fiscal year, the 15,000. So it's really just trying to keep whatever the balance of that fund is in there. We don't want it to, you know.
Right, and when we first started,
I think we're
we
just
had
rolling
the-
the balance.
yeah, we
So
had
it's kind of
the,
like an exception.
we had the full amount in there because we thought that we needed to have that in there, and then Christie came back and pointed out that, no, it wasn't that we needed to keep the full amount in there, it was that we needed to keep the current funds and make sure that they go back in. Since they don't automatically roll over, this way they kind of will.
So, in effect, that's an exception.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Christie, did you have something?
Yes. With the worksheet as it stands now, only half of Munis is funded. They had put it in half in county clerk budget to fund, but we backed it out. You know, we funded half in MIS. So I wanted to maybe bring the dialogue of moving it all to MIS and funding it there. Like right now, Munis is only funded half a year, the way this stands today. So
And that's,
I would,
But it's been currently paid for out of the special revenue account. And there's lots of stuff that we budget into special revenue accounts that,
their estimate of needs does not have it on there for their special rev. Right now, it's not on it. Well, right now, if you adopt the special revenue estimate of needs as is, and you adopt how we're seeing right now today, it seems as though half of Munis is not funded.
But we don't actually adopt special revs, and so they submitted it as a request of general fund. If it didn't get funded out of general fund, they'd have to find a way of making it work in special rev. And I understand that when Munis was put in place, it was kind of done two parts, and one of the parts, which was more the cloud hosting part, was an initiative that the prior county clerk took upon to essentially get Munis at the county level. In there, we're going to look at the clerk's office estimate needs now of their 3 or 4 project items they have on there, as well as Munis. I think with absolute certainty that, without a doubt, that we should fund the Munis out of MIS. All the other ones, I think, are up in the air, because those are things that are clearly based on past practice and can be used. They're all records preservation. I mean, it's a website, that's records preservation. Agenda software, that's records preservation. So those are things that can be paid out of those funds when they have the ability to do that. I agree that Munis, I agree with Christie. I think the full Munis should be put in the MIS budget.
Well, and whether it's an actual adoption of a special revenue fund estimate of needs or not, the other officers can direct the spending of special revenue funds. Although the other 7 can tell you that you have to spend it on anything.
Right. Yeah, obviously,
I just don't want to drop it.
Right.
Make sure it's funded somewhere.
obviously, we're in favor of putting the full amount in the MIS budget and us retaining that within our budget. Obviously, we made that pretty clear. We're trying to build a sustainable budget. That 250 is hamstrung us. We've showed you the declining balances over the years, and we've made a lot of staffing reduction this year to try to remedy that. But it's still going to hamstring us next year if it doesn't get moved. If we don't get funded for the 250, we're still going to see a declining balance, even based on all the changes that we made, the reductions that we've made. So,
Well, the declining balance, though, I mean, the revenues are steady, if not going up.
Exactly, yes.
And you clearly don't budget a good 300,000 of it. And I think the declining balance came when, this started in, 0102, records preservation. So it built, and then Carolyn used a lot for remodel. But it's a fund that should be able to build again for projects.
Yeah, I think we give a lot of credit to this floor costing some money, but it's really the floors that redo those floor strips. very expensive in the clerk's office. I think over $5 million for a long period of time. But I think this was an idea when I was still with the clerk's office, that just put under one deal so it can be encumbered and move on, whether it's general fund. Did you guys pay for it out of GF last year?
I think you said it's
No,
third or
we
something.
split between a records preservation and our UCC fund was payment.
Right.
We paid one payment out of general fund, partial payment out of general fund.
So, question is, would this group make a recommendation to have 250 shifted over to MIS, but do you take part of it from the county clerk, or do you just keep the county clerk whole in the recommendation? That's really kind of a burr in the saddle for this group. If you leave that 250 in their general fund, that's not really rolling them back to last year based on what they did last year.
Well, in the,
Without trying to punish you.
Right.
Trying to be good stewards.
if memory serves correct, I think the whole reason why it was split like that was because the expense and the commissioners looked at just hosting it like what we had done in the past, but the clerk's office, and I do, understand that it was a different elected official then, wanted it hosted remotely, and kind of the bargaining to get that done was that additional expense, that $250,000, that they would pay for it out of their special accounts. So now what we're looking at is the general fund and MIS potentially taking on the full burden of that, when if that would have been the play from the beginning, I think it would have not been hosted remotely. It would have been here at a significantly cheaper amount.
Is that an option now?
Sure.
To host it here?
Yeah, we can pull it back.
Then you have some
And that
costs.
would
And there are some costs to pull it back.
More or less than the 250?
Well, I don't know about more or less than the 250, but if you look at the 250 over every year, then significantly less.
It's something definitely worth looking at. It's my understanding that it's probably gonna be a wash, because you're gonna have to,
Year one.
going forward, you're gonna have to buy, you're gonna have to buy more updated servers, MIS, to host it. And you're gonna have to hire additional staffing in MIS, and you're gonna have to have people that, are available
Specifically
and-
work on
right,
that.
that know and can answer Tyler Munis questions and more or less become their help desk. Right now, when we have Tyler Munis problems, we can call Tyler Munis directly because they host us. So
Danny, the Tyler Munis is roughly $250,000 that you guys were paying last year out of your special revs. The Electric Digital and the Agenda software, when you add those two costs together, are less than $250,000. So if we were to pay the $250,000 out of MIS's budget, the funds you had used last year for Tyler would be a wash as far as the Electra and Agenda software. Your revenues are staying pretty flat. Now, granted, there are, with everything, slight increases in certain costs over the years, but what I mean, it would be almost a one-for-one trade out for those two, or it's 2-for-1.
Then that 250 is going to have to come from somewhere, because it can't come out of MIS's budget the way it currently sits.
We have to put it in MIS.
Right, right.
Yeah, you can't.
Right, and when you're talking $1 million more than what we had last year, and that 75% of it is that Tyler Munis, and then when you look at your $250,000 on the cap overage, and the $200,000 for the inmate medical, I mean, we're done.
We're not sitting on $1 million and leaving.
No, I'm saying,
We're sitting on a 3.6 number right now.
I'm talking about of the
He's talking
increase,
new money.
the new money.
But the way we've done this, I wouldn't say we're at zero-based budgeting where everybody is. We're only
No, I know.
line up.
But what I'm saying is, I've heard several people say, man, only $1 million, we're gonna have to just not do anything and wait till September supplement and see what we can do. I'm saying that if that's your thought, when we only have that $1 million, then, I mean, that's a huge chunk of it, so.
I think the million is coming when you're comparing our revenues that we just, for the 17, 18 versus how we ended. If you were to compare apples to apples, May of this year to May of last year, I think it was 2.6. I was looking for my notes. Yeah. But again, you got the budget up.
But Hannah, as of right now, reduced election board $204,000, which is MIS $140,000 as of right now.
Election board's gonna have a lot of elections this year.
It's still money
Yeah,
to come in, we try.
Yeah, and on election board, the problem is, if we moved, say we took the philosophy, okay, we're saving $204,000 at election board, so we can take that $200,000 and supplement to Tyler from your budget that you have for your supplemental. Well, that would potentially be fine for next year, but the following year, when election board's expenses go up because they have more elections, but it wouldn't change the expense on Tyler, that's gonna be a constant, then we're gonna be in flux. So it may not cause problems this year under that logic, but potentially down the road it would.
We're definitely adding a $260,000 new expense general side if we do this. For sure.
And like we said, we've done a lot to remedy that. We've pretty much eliminated 6 full-time positions from the county clerk's office, so we've cut that. We have.
What was your overall savings from those 6 positions?
It's, over 100,000.
And that's salaries and benefits?
Yes.
So that's roughly $16,700, we'll say $17,000 per position savings.
Sure.
I mean, I don't even think we have a position at the county that pays that.
I think his 100,000 savings was the wash it.
It's the net.
Honestly.
Right, we brought in some different positions.
I just want to I was trying to make sure that it was clear that that was net savings, and so.
We're trying to do more with less. Yes, we brought in some positions that are, at a higher rate, but, we're willing to live with our current staffing level. But we still need a sustainable budget moving forward. And the 250 would go a long way to do that. And, if we do build our special revenue fund balance back up, I mean, we can address it years down the road. But,
Well, you should, I mean,
right.
you generate between records preservation and UCC, what, 130 grand a month?
Yeah, it's almost, about 1.9 million a year between those funds.
Okay.
Well, and if we didn't move the 250, then what we could do, since we don't appropriate the special revenues, we could maintain status quo, which was, and kind of part of my issue is, the last time the Board of County Commissioners spoke on this is what they said, that, how they wanted to do the contract, and that's how they were, willing to move forward with it being hosted offsite. If we were gonna make a change, then they might still be interested in going back to us hosted here, because of the expense. So since special revenues aren't, it's not gonna be appropriated, then if we maintain status quo and had MIS start looking at what they would have to have logistically and monetarily to bring it back here and host it local, then the first 6 months of the Tyler contract is being paid by MIS, correct? So if we were gonna pull it back here and we got it done before that 6 months expires, assuming there's no, early termination fee or something like that, it may not even hit your budget, your special revenue budget, right?
But if we host it here, where would we find the new funding for the additional positions?
Well, we don't know that there is gonna have to be additional positions. Potentially there are.
Right.
But, I mean, we don't know that for sure until MIS actually, and I know there may have been some banter back and forth about, you know, what needs to be done, but I don't think there's been an in-depth analysis done. I mean, I think there's probably been a cursory review, but, I mean, at least to my knowledge,
Right. Yeah, and I don't know.
And for that analysis and for that switch to take place in a 6-month period, I would be shocked.
Well, you guys had some encumbrances that you
And
have
that's
to pay
another
for.
thing, we have to
certain
encumber the full amount of the contract July 1.
Yeah,
That's true, yeah.
but you guys have other stuff out there that you have to encumber.
Yeah, whether we switch or not, we still have to encumber it. Half of it's still gonna be our responsibility July 1, full contract.
right.
What are you projecting carryovers to be in those funds?
Right now, we're estimating in our special revenue fund, we've been about 650,000 carryovers.
What are your contracts that you'll have to,
Right about 495,000.
that's without Tyler?
That's including Tyler.
So you would have enough to encumber just from your rollover dollars.
This is why we took those items off the DET list, because that was our issue. We knew we were gonna end with cash balance, we just had to have enough to encumber.
But what I'm saying, you had said that you have to encumber, and I understand that you do have to encumber July 1 for the, whatever the contract amount that you guys pay for. So, but you have 650,000 rollover. If that 400, what'd you say, 495? If that included the Tyler, then you'll have enough money in your rollover to encumber all of that. And then if you wind up not needing to expend any money on Tyler, come January 1, it can be unencumbered, and you've got that money left to spend the rest of the fiscal year.
Now, there's still gonna be a cost, whether they host it or we host it, you still have to pay a licensing cost. And I don't know how much of the 250 that is, or the 500,000, the total.
If memory serves correct, it was roughly that 250,000, because that's what the commissioner said. This is our expense, and this is what we're willing to pay if you guys want to do something different, because I think they understood that it wasn't going to make it easier on your office, but if that's what the clerk wanted, we'll facilitate that as long as you will facilitate the spending of the additional expenses. And like I said, I completely understand that kind of, you know, a decision like that ties Mr. Hooten's hands, and I completely understand the predicament. But switching it around now ties the other 7 electeds' hands as well. So, I mean, it's a...
Well, while we're here, are you guys including the benefit staff as part of your budget?
As of right now, yes.
No, we took your
We took,
positions out.
Well, they're including it in their estimate of needs.
Oh, I gotcha.
It's included in the BET items for follow-up discussion. So we haven't officially taken it out
Additionally,
yet.
yeah. As this document stands now, there's 3 people taken out of it.
But if you look there, Rich,
In the notes?
the $1,009,106.
Yes, sir.
That includes 3 of the benefit staff folks that are over there.
Okay.
That's gonna be raised.
And the reason why, whenever I looked at 3, the discussion had been for employees coming over, whether they all come over or none of them come over, I don't know what that's gonna be, but I just used the 3 because Danny had said, and Mr. Hooten's also said that they would need another employee if they lost 4. So I just pulled 3 out instead of pulling 4. That way it left money in there for the other position.
Did you also say that the 3 were the 3 that were funded in general fund?
Yes,
The 4 that we all keep talking about, so 1 funded in.
as a special, yeah.
Okay. Well, we could always transfer later.
We know how that works.
Well, the other,
swimmingly, right?
yeah, the one, I'll just throw it out here, kind of like Cody said the other day, shoot me now if you want, but why don't we take $1.25 out and give it to the county clerks, and then take 125 from the million in new money and just outright, I'm just offering it up as an idea.
To do it.
To pay Tyler Munis, take 125 away from the county clerk's general fund, and then take 125 from the new $1 million, and split the sheets that way. Cut the baby in half, and see how things shake out with benefits, and the benefits office and all that, and see how it goes. It's just an idea. Not trying to
You're
shred you
confused,
guys,
Larry?
but.
Well, I'm just thinking, records and record keeping, it's in the responsibility of the county clerk.
Right.
And if I said to this group and said, I've got my revaluation budget, but I don't want to spend it all on reval, can you supplement my reval budget so I can do, well, we can't do that because that's your responsibility after you get your reval money for it.
Right.
And it seems to me that if we'd all agreed previously that these are records. The court clerk keeps these records. These are all records that we're doing. I mean, the county clerk keeps all these records, and it makes sense that they pay for it.
Tyler Munis has nothing to do with maintaining records.
Well, you're the guys that do it, though. It's the records.
It's a countywide system. We all use it.
I understand.
There's not a department out there that doesn't use county.
I understand. But
Well,
those are records that are kept for the
And
county
it's always
records.
been paid for out of MIS budget. Oracle is paid out of MIS budget
In the past.
in the past. Before Oracle, the predecessor was paid out of MIS budget.
The reason why it's done the way it is the last couple of years is because of the previous administration offered to pay for half the contract. And
But
those that
to Larry's point, though, it is part of records preservation, though, right? I mean,
Part of records.
Tyler Munis, it's, we're processing payroll.
Anything you guys do throughout this building is part of records preservation. I mean,
But like you said, the payroll and whatnot is for the county as a whole. I mean, that's not just, District 1 keeping records of, roads that we've built and that kind of stuff. I mean, this is county retention of documentation for payroll and whatnot. I'm not saying that we should or shouldn't do something different. I'm just saying that, I think, in my opinion, Larry is right. I mean, it is records. I think legally it can, without looking at the statutes, it just makes sense that it would be able to be paid out of there. Now, whether that's the policy that you want to do or not, I think that's a different argument.
It wasn't the policy of the DOCC or the budget board or whatever applicable statutes for decades was Oracle. And so, this is just a deal. Does this group want to say, all right, county clerk, you guys are no longer responsible for it? I mean, this was an idea that I was a part of when I was with the county clerk's office, was to say, turn that back to where it should belong, which was MIS, which is where it was with Oracle. Or do we want them to still be paying for it and kind of control it? Say, yeah, host it offsite. Yeah, we're contributing part of the money, so you got to do it over here. Or do you want it in one place where one group decides, which would be the commissioners, as to is it hosted on site and or is it hosted off site?
Well, and I don't have, I think I have 100% recollection, but I could be off a little bit, but I'm talking about this particular item. Okay, 100%, it's a little bit of an overstatement. I do have a pretty clear recollection of the process, but to me, BOCC spoke on the issue and said that it was going to be done this way. It was going to be half out of MIS.
Contingent on funding from the clerk.
Exactly. So if, to me, and I could be wrong, but to me, I think if there's going to be any change to that, BOCC has to speak to that. Now, what this group could do is we could recommend $249,000 increase from general fund to the clerk's budget for the clerk to be able to pay for Tyler Munis.
I disagree. And this is a total budget issue, that has nothing to do with whether the commission.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. To look at it from a budget issue, we could say of that $3 million that's down there, we'll move an additional $250,000 into your general fund budget to pay for the Tyler Munis. I think as a budget committee, we could make that kind of recommendation, but I don't think we can make the recommendation to pull Tyler Munis from you guys and pull that split, because the Board of County Commissioners contemplated that with their contract.
I think that was the only.
Does that make sense?
Mr. Chairman.
I mean, at the end of the day, we can make a recommendation that would make you whole in the manner that you want, but I don't necessarily know that we could make a recommendation that would change you guys needing to send money to Tyler Munis. We can give you the money to send to them. I mean, we can make the recommendation and the budget board could give you that additional money, but I don't know that we could. And I don't recall exactly what that contractual language was that the Board of County Commissioners approved. That's where it's not 100% clear.
At the risk of drawing the ire of all the elected officials in the county, I'm pretty good at becoming that lightning rod. One thing that we haven't done that just occurred to me, and you guys may have a good argument why we shouldn't, and I'm not afraid to throw something up against the wall and see if it sticks. You know, we've always had we've had a recommendation from this group, and we've had a lot of things in this room that we hadn't been able to agree on at this level that just automatically we put on the watch list. What if there were a list of things, and this may be one of them, it may not be, there may be consensus on this at the end of the day, but what if there was a list of things to be presented to the budget board for them to decide at the meeting next Thursday, this is going to be funded July 1, or this is going to go on the watch list, and that be kind of a separate list that we don't have consensus on?
Well, I think, didn't we kind of do that last year when we gave that other list of the items that we considered funding, but we didn't? That way they could look at those?
We can have a separate sheet.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah, we had a list of items that were considered, but not.
Yeah.
Right, but a list of considered but not recommended, I mean, that could be everything that we've talked about since we started this process.
So, I mean, just to be clear on the Tyler Munis thing, I think that we're going to have to get with MIS to see if there would be an additional expense if we hosted it on site. I mean, that's where the savings is going to be. And my recollection isn't as good as Cody's. However, you know, we did meet, you know, with the former elected official, and that was part of the reason behind the BOCC was the BOCC really didn't care that it was going to be hosted off-site as long as the funding was provided. And that's, I believe, why they went with, you know, having it remotely hosted.
Yeah, I think it was the deal.
And so to the clerk's point, if you put the $250 in MIS, then they can decide that on their own. They don't need anybody else to consider whether it's cheaper to host it on-site or cheaper
But
to
that's
host it
what I'm
off-site.
saying, to formulate some kind of decision, we're going to have to weigh what we're paying now for off-site and compare that to on-site hosting. It may be
But only if the whole burden is
on-site.
on you. You don't have to worry about that if the whole burden isn't on you, right?
Well, on the funding levels, where's the new let's say that they have to fund 2 new positions, okay? Is the funding going to provide for that? The servers that Danny was talking about, if they have to upgrade their servers,
Yeah.
who's going to fund that? We've got a payroll system, and we come out and go, we need.
That's where the rubber meets the road, though. That's where you decide, if it's gonna cost you $400,000, then no, you keep posting it off-site. I mean, that's a simple budget
We need
decision.
to get.
Well, not necessarily. If it's $400,000 and it's a one-time expense, then in 2 years you've saved $100,000. So, I mean.
Just a cost analysis going to have to be made on it.
Perhaps we could ask Mr. Teal to update us, Mr. Chairman?
Maybe you could find out why he's a tighter
Is he
Well,
trained?
It was in San Antonio.
Well, maybe early next week he could come in.
But here's the thing, I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong, Aaron can help me, but to me, having Rob Teal come in and talk to this group about changing the way we serve the financial system in the county, to me, is not the appropriate place, because the Board of County Commissioners decide that. It doesn't matter what he comes in and tells us, and we say, hey, we're gonna make a recommendation to move the hosting. I mean, that's not this group's purview. And it's kind of what I was getting
I
at
think
the second
we
time
are,
when I was
though.
talking to you. I don't think we can make that kind of recommendation. We could say, hey, listen, we understand that you guys don't have the money to pay for your half of the Tyler Munis because of, depleting revenues or whatever. I think we could make a recommendation of taking $250,000 that's over here in general fund and adding it to your general fund budget to help you pay for that. But I don't think this group has the ability to make any other decisions. Does that make sense?
I agree with you, Mr. Chairman, but I think what we're trying to focus on is, whether it's $250,000 or whatever, we're just saying from a budgetary standpoint, we're not talking about where we host or not. That can be ultimately decided. It's the funding of it, it's the budgetary deal. Do you want to split it from county clerk and MIS, or do we just want to put it in one department, which is originally was Oracle, how it was done? So I think whether it goes offsite or whatever can be decided down the road by the commissioners, and then the money could be moved down the road depending on how they want to do it.
Just out of curiosity.
But we're just talking budget here.
Yeah, but, and I guess what I'm saying is, and I don't know what was in the mind of the commissioners, I think that they made the decision because the alternative funding is why they wanted.
I think it was a factor.
I think so.
Yeah, so I guess that's,
And all of this is.
and I understand what Cody's saying, but then again, I think at one point in time, if we do want MIS to totally fund it, I think we have to look at other option. And how we get there, I don't know. As far as deciding how much potential savings there could be if we host it on site.
This whole thing is evolved with Kevin Kurtz when there were repeated findings by the state auditor and inspector as to how all these records are kept and how we do timekeeping and processing and leave and all that other stuff. We've got another committee out there that's trying to figure out how to do leave and make it consistent. But we had a repeated finding for 15, 16, 17 years. And the county clerk said, I'm drawing a line in the sand. I'm going to help pay for this. I'll pay for half if you guys pay for the other half. That's where it all, that's what gave birth to it.
That's what helps selling the county on munis, because the clerk's office will pay for part of that. I mean, that was the selling point. There were other options there, but we didn't look at the other option because that was what was proposed.
And just like
I've been outspoken about it. We never worked for munis. We never voted for munis.
And just like you have a new boss and the new sheriff, if you will, the acting sheriff is redirecting things that Sheriff Wetzel has done, and Mr. Hooten is trying to say, we don't want to pay for this anymore. And we'd love it to be back in the control of MIS.
They're not paying for it anymore.
It is under the control of MIS, so.
Kenny, you said something earlier, if we brought it back in-house, hosted it here, we would still have access to Tyler Help Desk, right? I mean, you still have a line that you can call and get answers.
You still have a service agreement with them.
Yeah.
Just for some dollar amount, but one of the questions I was gonna ask was, when we looked at this, we had to have looked at what the cost was of hosting it on-site versus hosting it off-site when we made that decision. So where are those documents when we first went with Tyler as to what the on-site cost was gonna be?
We had two proposals from Tyler for us hosting it, and of course, we didn't have a cost of what it would cost the county, other than our licensing fee with Tyler.
But
to your point, I mean, when we call it support, they can get in our system now because they support us. Jump in there live, see what's going on, and help us fix it or fix it if we give them that authority. But if we host it, that goes away. I mean, they cannot do that.
But my reports are trying a lot faster.
If they run a lot slower if we don't get new servers.
And you wouldn't have to put in 3 passwords to... But, no, I mean, I completely understand where you guys are coming from. I know Mr. Hooten, you know, came in and he has different ideas than Carolyn had and different priorities, and, I mean, that's just natural. I mean, we're all different. But, at the end of the day, I mean, there may be the funding there, but when we're looking at, you know, you've got $650,000 rollover that you can pay for, you know, encumber all of those contracts, and be able to handle that. I mean, we've got to weigh the given an extra $250,000 on that side versus we got a pay equity issue in your office. We've got a percentage of folks being paid on one account that you think should be paid on another. We've got 2 offices that would love to have additional money to be able to do more school projects and reach out and help the community. In District 3, the same way. We've got the assessor that needs, you know, in the same situation as the treasurer as far as, you know, they feel like they need to be at a different percentage.
And they've got a supervisor position that hasn't been funded, that has to be funded. That's another.
Right, and the sheriff's office is, I mean, the facilities, you know, falling down around their ears, and, you know, they need, you know, I don't know how many more DOs, and so, I mean,
More money that we can generate with a 1-cent sales tax.
I think it's just one of those things, and that was the same thing with the reason why I said last Wednesday or whenever it was to take District 1's added increase off of there, because I really do, I would like to do the extra stuff, you know, that we could, you know, possibly do and not have to transfer and all of that. But I recognize that there's other needs that are more pressing, maybe not necessarily more important, but more pressing, stuff that needs to be done now. You know, we need more money potentially for employee benefits. And I think it's just, I mean, we've got to, and everybody's going to have a different priority on, you know, what they feel like we should fund first, and then kind of go down through the list. But
So is your argument, Mr. Chairman, that the county clerk has sufficient funds, including Tyler Munis, to take out a special rep?
the only information that I have, I mean, when Danny said that they're rolling over $650,000 and they need to encumber $495,000 for next year, to me, that sounds like they've got plenty of money to do that.
Well, I can tell you, based on our current staffing that currently we have right now, yes, we have enough to start next year. But that fund balance, if we maintain the current staffing and maintain the $250 from Tyler Munis, it's going to continue to go down. And then this time next year, we're not going to have enough money to start the year to encumber contracts for the following year.
So what you're saying is it's really important to have carryovers to start the new fiscal year?
I don't think we need an interpreter for that one.
But go ahead.
But that's something that we could address, because we don't know exactly what your revenues are going to be and what projects you're going to be able to get done next year. And if this time next year, or a couple months before this time next year, it looks like you're not going to have enough rollover to encumber all the contracts, we can try to take care of that then instead of doing it now. I mean, I understand looking at rollover to encumber, you know, a few months out, but not necessarily budgeting that far into the future to have money to encumber for not this fiscal year, but the next fiscal
You
year.
take the $250,000 from the general fund and move it over to MIS. You don't take it out of their special rep. You know,
I think you have a new elected official came in, had to make tough cuts, had to cut positions, was upfront with the budget board on what needed to be done. Those are hard decisions, those are people's lives to get to a sustainable budget, and we're still not there yet. I mean,
But Danny, like in records preservation, I'm just looking at your estimate of needs. You've got what you're projecting for revenue, and then what you're gonna budget there's 329,000 on the table. So
Because we put,
you're getting.
because we put several of those in our general fund in those positions, like we talked about. I mean, we're having to shift people over to records preservation, and we would like to be able to fund that in the general fund instead.
You're not, they're in records preservation,
They're
you're
in
wanting to
gen-
shift to general.
They're in general fund. We should, in our estimate of need, if we don't get the funding, we're gonna have to shift them back to records preservation.
But right
Now, you've got
now,
people in here,
We do have some, yeah.
but not.
Yeah,
Some of them are in our general fund estimate.
but what we've got on your list right now is the budget that you asked for, except for the raises, that 55,513 for salary and benefit increases. And then we took the $1 million out, which was for the 3 softwares and the benefits folks that would be leaving as far as an expense. Other than that, everything up there is fully funding what you asked for. So if you asked for more money for people that are coming over from another fund, then the way we have it on this sheet right now, they're funded. Because the only thing, when you see the decrease from 16-17 budget, $267,253 decrease, that's those benefits folks, and the benefits folks were $287,000. So if you take the 287 out, it's actually an increase of like, 13,000, 14,000.
But we're asking that you shift the 250 down to MIS.
Not from your budget.
No, I understand. What I was talking about was the transfer of employees.
Danny, can you go to the comments here, the 1 million? I know what you're saying about the software and stuff, but I thought we we took out 231 previously paid from.
Oh, yeah, because that was over in the adjustments column
Yeah, he
before.
did.
Yeah. Okay, I got you.
I mean, it's a simple fix. And you move the 250 down to MIS, you let us keep our 250, allows us to maintain our current staffing level and we move forward. It's an easy fix.
It's $250,000.
Well, but it's not an easy, I mean, if that was the case, it's an easy fix to move all of the treasurer's folks over and all of Larry's folks over
I mean,
too.
we have an elected official that we gave $354,000 to last year because they needed 10 new employees.
That was
So, I mean, we blinked twice about that, so.
Well, I think there was.
Nobody blinked twice.
That was a pretty contentious.
And they also came to the budget board before they made the staffing changes.
And I know I gave the big speech about this isn't all a zero-sum game, but it's really hard to sit around this table and not say this is a zero-sum game. I mean, I look at this and I go, 250 allows you to do electro-digital and agenda software, and I still got people that are having second and third jobs because we're paid so much less. And it's not, I don't want to look at it that way. It's just, it's human nature that to compare those things, it's just hard. This is difficult.
We're spinning our wheels here, Mr.
Yeah, I think
Chairman.
we're not good. We may need to keep it.
Do we just table that discussion, and we can pick on Danny another day?
Or do we start a list of these are the things we want to come back to?
Well, and that's what I think, that's what all of that stuff is. So, I think getting everything moved over into that column lets us know the dollar amount that we have to work with. Now, part of that dollar amount that we have to work with is stuff that we need to hold potentially.
We've just spent quote-unquote spent $15,000 for arbitrage. I mean, there are going to be some things on this list that we can have consensus of, I think. I hope.
Which, that 15,000 went over into the adjustments column.
Oh, we didn't put it in the...
No, we put it in the
budget
adjustments
July.
column.
Oh, I thought we were putting it in the fund in July.
We did.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's in the adjustments column. If it's over in that column C, adjustments, those are the things that we've already talked about, and we either think it needs to go up or down by
That's
that
what I'm
amount.
saying. We got a consensus on that. There may be some
Right.
other things on this list.
There very well could be, yeah. But the only way to know is to go through the list of the
Right.
stuff that's in that column.
Right. And are we just gonna, do we just want to scattergun it, or do we want to go in order, or how do you want to do it?
I would say if someone has something they really want to speak on,
Well,
because if we go down the list again.
from our
I mean, the
standpoint,
recommendation
yesterday,
last week.
we pulled out the 37,491 for the capital and the M&O. And like on the treasurer's, for example, even though it was a smaller amount, it was $5,000 for a copier. We put that on the adjustment column. I mean, the parking transponders and the little bit of capital and stuff, I mean, it's kind of a small amount in our overall budget, and I'd sure like to see that back over.
5,000 for treasurer, it wasn't, it was postage.
Okay, for postage. But you have to send out the tax notices.
And the delinquent notices. Mortgage no payment. About $1 million.
So I'm bringing those $37,000 up.
Which one?
The change in the M&O of 12,491 and the
On yours, right?
capital 25, yeah. Down in a couple of areas, carriers earlier in the monthly parking. So Amy, would that be? Part of that is cell phone stipend. This is the first year that we've paid any cell phone stipends out of the court clerk's office. That wasn't done in any of the previous court clerks. The transponders is because we increased employees.
Hey, Mike, you said the cell phone stipend wasn't previously done by other electeds. You didn't have a cell phone stipend, or you didn't have it itemized out?
We didn't have a cell phone stipend.
Your elected officials before didn't have one.
City Tim or Tricia took a cell phone stipend, which made it kind of hard to ask for one for the chief deputy or the management staff if they elected one to take one. Is this the adjusted one though, Amy, or is that the original one?
So, it's showing where the parking is, everything really is for additional parking spaces for our employees.
So this is the original one, not the one you adjusted?
No, I think this is more adjustable,
Well,
but I do have 6,000 over there, that's another 600 I can, cell phone stipend.
yeah, but you've got the parking going down. We have additional employees, but the transponder's going up.
Well, we did, we gave back a few transponders, but now that we're feeding them back, because we have employees that need transponders.
Isn't the transponders the deposit on the transponders? If you
Well,
turn the
it's a partial
transponder back in,
deposit.
should you need
It's
the
a
deposit back?
You don't. That's
You don't
the
get the deposit.
crazy
So it's a
thing.
one-time fee, so it's not really a
Right.
deposit, but that's what they call it.
Right.
EVA fund.
Yeah.
So
And then if it breaks, if their transponder breaks,
Buy a
you
new one.
put another deposit on another
It's
transponder.
a great business.
It really is.
We're talking about increasing the cost of the first-time
Sounds like a great washing operation.
Claim the same claim as yours.
So it's not a deposit, it's a fee,
Right.
another
Yeah.
fee.
The one-time fee.
And how much is the one-time fee?
$100, I think. Isn't it about $100?
And how much does that
I think
transponder
it's like
actually cost? So what's the market?
Yeah, I don't think it's over.
Well, because,
I
Do what,
increased.
Christie?
I don't think it's
Like,
over.
I'm gonna do that.
well, because there's $1,590 request.
Mhm.
That's a lot of transponders if they're $50 piece.
Yeah.
And That may be more part of that 1440 down, should have been.
So what have you guys been doing for water, Mike?
Amy, what, have you been paying for that out of revolving? No, it comes through general
No, it comes from
fund.
county.
That's why I'm asking if this is not the original one instead of the adjusted one. That had those expenses
What is
broken
it?
out.
I'm just drinking water from the water fountain.
I don't think it, yeah, this isn't, because the one.
What I had asked for in the water is what we currently.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
original, isn't it?
yeah, this is not.
I don't think
That isn't the current. This is the original, and Kristen's
Yeah,
got the current
okay.
one with the adjusted stuff on there that shows
Yeah, so
what
the
we
water
spent in
was-
those
Yeah.
Right.
categories this
Because
year.
I got with my.
So what you showing us, Dan? Showing us old documents?
The last one that was sent out.
And I'm looking at that one because Danny sent it to me.
See, before we went in line items, it was just all M and O to me, because it's all M and O, and so I just work off of.
That sounds like the title to a good song.
Oh.
It's all M&O to me.
So, it wouldn't be like line by line, it would just be, one top figure.
Yeah.
I think
And I'm
you looked at the wrong one.
now
Dan.
doing
Yeah,
this, I'm
'cause she's
putting-
got-
'Cause I just opened the book recently.
Sorry, guys.
It's wrong.
All right, I got the wrong one.
That's right.
All right, well, since you sent me this other one, I'm gonna need you to enlarge that up there, por favor.
Of course, about 2 today.
No lunch.
I get cranky when I'm
I was
hungry.
gonna say, you can't get me to make decisions.
My wife can attest to that.
You want a sticker?
What person do you turn into?
Prefer a Kit Kat in case you get in your break.
Right or left?
Oh,
That's the right one.
nope, that's still the same.
Always the left side.
I think, no, it's not.
No,
Yeah, so that's got the actual parking amount,
I've never eaten the right side.
159 for transponder.
Eat them all together, don't you?
No, I eat the left
Is
side.
that all right?
Oh,
You
really?
guys are mixing up
Wait,
your.
No, you break them apart. I only eat the left side. Never eat the right.
What do you do with the right one?
So it was.
That's it.
they put it in
That
my
doesn't have,
Mm-hmm.
Both of them together, he breaks them, so you.
I mean, how do you know which one's the right,
Right.
which one's the left?
Well,
I mean,
it's
it's in the.
The way the words are going.
Yeah, now they're marking the right and the left.
The only changes on the one that Amy submitted after she got back from being on funeral leave, parking is up 11,000 and transponders is up 1,431. 1160 and 1431 for 12,491, so that's the.
Okay, yeah, that's the one that we're looking at.
Parking.
Danny's got it under control. He had the right one.
That's not it.
That's not it.
That's not it.
Well, it still says the 1431.
Yeah, 491 is correct,
But
but
parking is 11,060. This was based on the one that she sent out on April 25th.
when she returned for funeral leave.
This is the April 25th email we got from Kelly.
Parking went up 11,000. Oh, is that because of the 10 new?
10 new spots. Went from 122 spots to 132 spots. It was in the updated PDF that's not on the screen.
Did you not ask for the buy 20, get 3 free?
Or at least get free transponders.
We asked for some relief and get free parking, but we haven't gotten it yet. We haven't gotten a response to that.
Ain't nothing free.
So that's where that is, and then the other 25 is the capital.
It seems like a lot of transponders. And I know that seems picky, but that just seems like a lot. Because your people they've already been hired in 16, 17, so they have their initial
but
transponder.
I think what I did on the original, I just thought, for some reason, I did the 159 that we asked for last year and
Times it by 10.
Yeah.
yeah, and that
Yeah.
wasn't accurate, so.
Yeah.
It's $150-something for transponders, right?
No, it's
No.
53, I believe it's 53.
No, that's what I'm saying, it's 3 transponders.
Right.
Is what
Yeah,
$159
you got 3
represents.
last year.
Represents for.
Yeah, so.
30. That's a lot of transponder, Thank you for translating.
And can we see on what his 272,067 all is again?
Pay equity.
So,
So the pay equity figure, if we want to go through all of it, the pay equity figure is actually $394.80. Let me bring the brochure with me. The new employees is $248. And then there was $106,140, and that was a portion, which is about maybe 10% of our, what we pay for temps and part-time employees.
what's that figure again?
106,140. And of course, the 5 new employees, I think, probably has to be kicked down the road at least in September, or put on the watch list or something. I think that's something that's going to be difficult to do right now, and I get that, and probably the relief to our revolving fund as well. But I think the things that we'll be asking of the budget board, whether it's in here or next Thursday, will be the other 3 items: the pay equity, the capital, and the 12,491 for July 1 funding.
Because we have 272,067 coming out, but you're saying the pay equity is 394.
We could
I'm trying to figure out
what the number was. We just said maybe it's pay equity.
Yeah, I don't know where.
What our conversation was yesterday, if I recall.
And I don't know where, I'll admit this now, but I don't know what our budget was increasing before, and we reduced it down to 118 yesterday. I don't know where that figure came from, but I wasn't gonna argue with this.
No.
We adjusted it up 118, but their 10 people are in there.
Yeah, the 10 new employees that they hired this year, that 118 is the extra money because they only got
Right.
Three-quarters of it.
three-quarters
Right.
of it.
Right.
So that's that. And then I don't know about anybody else, but I'm fine with adding the parking for the 10 employees, the 11,000 into that adjustments column. Whatever that dollar amount was.
But when they were hired, when did we fund that? It was in the spring.
No, it was 9 months ago. We got 9 months for that. And it may just be the ability to scramble because we didn't hire them all at once. I mean, we're gonna have a significant lapse at the end of the year.
Because not being able to hire all 10.
Right.
Have you hired all 10 now?
Yeah, we're over 1 right now, which is kind of the conversation I was having with you yesterday. If you've got some churn, you can afford to be over 1 month and after the next month. That's what you have to do.
Is there a consensus to move the increase in parking into that adjustments column, the 11,000?
I have no objection.
I know, yeah.
On your 250?
They sell those at Walmart. I have no problem with the parking.
They're cheaper at Sam's.
I'm sure they probably are, same thing. I love it even.
What was the exact dollar amount?
$11,060.
Mike, do you have a problem with us moving that to the adjustments column?
No, sir.
Christie, you?
No.
Steve?
I'm good.
Scooted?
No.
You're like
Larry?
some of the elevators you pause.
Larry's good. Rick? You good? Danny?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good too. All right, we found one consensus item.
Employee parking?
Yeah.
You just absorbed it for the 9 months.
But you have to lapse the health cover.
So do we need to make an adjustment to the follow-up column?
Yeah, you take 11,060 off of that one, right?
There's that mysterious $31 from this.
No, that may not have been included in there,
No, I got it.
because that column, the decrease should equal the adjustments column, right?
Well, you added, yeah, that's right.
There you go.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, Mike had, what were your, it was capital,
Capital, yeah.
$25,000 capital.
Furniture.
Yeah.
One of the things, throw this out, because you throw something out as a possibility and it becomes gospel in this organization, not just this group, but in this organization, but we're looking at doing some shuffling around of where employees are situated, and we're hoping that maybe through that, and this is a maybe, but we're hoping that maybe through that effort, we reduce our need, that maybe we can do some more cross-training. If tasks are closer in proximity to other tasks, then through cross-training, maybe less people can cover those tasks. And so, that is a hope of ours. So I'm not saying that I'm ready to just hunt the 5 additional employees, but that, I think we can kick it down the road and see what this looks like. But it's gonna be a while, because we've gotta have some furniture that, did we order the furniture yet? Amy's tired of me asking her that, because I ask her every morning. We gotta have some furniture for that, stools for the counter, things like that, but, that's gonna necessitate some changes.
Did you use
So-
out of your reserve? Or last?
Whatever. Oh, the stools, yeah, we're doing that, but I'm just saying, when we start moving employees around, we may have different furniture needs, we may have less furniture needs, but, we haven't updated any furnishings in the court clerk's office in a very long time.
So you're saying you want to wait on this until you know what the shuffle is
So
going to do?
5 employees I want to wait on, which I already threw out there. I'd like to have some money in our capital fund this year to try to update some things that we're doing.
Well, it sounds like
I
some,
think there's probably a lot of updating all across the county. But,
yeah.
I understand the parking with your,
We got a lot of moldy furniture we have to replace.
I'm just afraid, yeah.
Well, and I don't disagree with that, but I mean, I'm not proposing that we get into looking at special revenue funds, and those budgets, but I think if you look at the furnishings in the offices that have special revenue funds to supplement what they're doing, I don't know that you could argue that their furniture's not 100 times nicer than those that don't have that.
I was thinking.
Come look at our office. Come look at my office and the mold growing on my desk corners.
Mike, it sounds like
Yeah,
you've got some unknowns as far as what you're wanting to do. Is there an amount less than 25 that you're kind of certain that you need, and then we could potentially put the rest on the watch list if you...
25, when you look at the lack of purchases for furnishings in our office, was a small amount to start with. I mean, so I don't know that that didn't represent, I didn't go through and say, well, I got 17 desks at $417.32 a piece, and I've got this many chairs, and I've got this many shelves.
Can you do that?
I mean, I think it was just a round,
By Friday?
a round figure that I thought was fairly small.
Yeah. Can you do that over lunch break?
Second then. Let's break.
So anyway, that was,
So, the 25,000, anybody want to put that in the adjustments column, or do we want to keep that over for further discussion?
I want to put it in the adjustments column, since you threw that as anybody.
Christie?
I'm okay with it now as we go through and develop, as we keep going. I'm okay. Put it there.
Put it in adjustments. Steve?
Adjustment.
Scoot it?
Come back to me.
Larry? Rick?
Sure.
Danny?
Follow-up discussion.
follow-up.
So let's leave it in the follow-up, because I'd like for it to be consensus. I don't want us to get into,
Well,
we have 6-2.
For now,
not
to
unanimous.
do it, I think it needs to be consensus to
I
get
agree.
over there for right
I
now.
agree.
Then when we get down to it, then we can.
Before, I think there's other needs that might be out there.
Okay. Danny, can you make sure that the 25,000 is on that other
And
sheet?
break it out, yeah. Or put a note on it.
And at the risk of
Yeah.
probably not getting consensus, the other thing we'll be asking for Thursday, whether it's a consensus of this group or it's the board, will be the pay equity, the
25 even.
Yeah, capital for furniture.
and I'm sure we have consensus on that one, right? On the 390, 480. Everybody wants to put that in the
There's
adjustment
multiple
And then-
departments that have pay equity issues. I wish we could address them all at once, but we can't afford to.
In the VED follow-up column on the other page.
Well,
Yeah.
one thing that I
Break it out,
say is somewhat
The
different.
25,000.
I mean, you're comparing clerks to clerks and you're comparing clerks to DOs, and that's a hard
We compare clerks
comparison.
to clerks all day. We've got
Didn't
more
see that as
positions.
part of your request.
No, because there's other requests we have that are more imperative because of the dollar amount.
Right, right, and that's what you have to do. You have to prioritize your requests.
Go back through it on there, you're looking. A lot. We've looked at that number,
Danny, are all those numbers on the?
just to get the proportional average.
Is that all correct? Because the pay equity was higher than that. I just want to make sure that our columns are right.
Yeah, I don't know where those numbers came from.
What's numbers? The column,
Yeah.
it was to get you back at your current budget, and then add the increase in 118, 195.
Okay. So that, right now, what we have for them would be leaving their salaries and benefits at the same level it was last year, with the exception of the 10 new employees. We had that
Right.
amount there.
For
And then
3
we had
months.
11,000 and change to their M&O from last year. Okay. Is there any
Yeah,
more?
because the pay equity is 390, 480. That was what was requested for pay equity.
Okay. Anything else on that one? Okay. You guys want to hit one more, or do you want to break for lunch?
Break for lunch.
All right, how long does everybody need? 1 o'clock good?
Nope. Got a birthday lunch.
Is it your birthday?
Nope.
I was gonna say happy
What time?
1:30?
1:30 work?
I'll have about an hour after lunch. Then we have a doctor's appointment.
Me too. Let me check. I am well at 1:15.
I better not be bringing sick germs in here.
No,
Better
it's,
be just other stuff.
just so I can renew my allergy
Okay.
prescription.
I need to do that. I'm
Okay.
acting like I
Is there a motion to recess until 1:30?
So moved.
Got a motion and a second? Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, it is 1:30. Is there a motion to return to open session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, back at it. I would request that not everybody go at once.
Oh, I thought you were still setting up and waiting. Okay.
No.
Well, I
You did
was
call.
watching you try to figure out how to plug that in.
Well, I couldn't see around the corner. I normally don't plug it into this.
we're just kind of jumping around a little bit now. I know we had backed out everything in emergency management, but I got a feeling at one point that there might be a few items that we may want to fund there. I mean, I'm not speaking, I don't have anything specific myself, that was a note that I had.
We put all their capital in the follow-up list.
We did. We might just have a lot of discussion on their stuff.
What was the shop equipment?
That is for Kraus. They're
Fan.
utilizing that, big garage, and they need some fans and stuff in there because it's extremely hot.
There's not really anything.
Yeah,
I think it's all, I'm gonna roll my sleeves up here.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with any of it.
I don't
I
either.
mean, I think the telecom in the short term, I think is a wise deal. I mean, while we're still trying to assess long term there. And as far as radio communications go, we were able to identify a location for the radio pilot, so that will hopefully get kicked off soon.
Is the radio in the 13.5 or in the 30?
It's 13.5. The 31 is for the the cab chassis for the slide on, slide off fire equipment.
For the brush pumper.
Yeah,
Yep. And then the furniture is for
the new build out area, right?
down here, yeah.
We know when that might be done.
It was supposed to be done for, tornado season, like a month ago, but,
So maybe next year's tornado season will have it.
well, no, I think they're working on it right now. It should hopefully be done soon.
And their existing furniture is not sufficient enough for that space, so they need more.
Yeah,
Or they replacing.
They're expanding
They're-
yeah.
into another room, and it'll be set up like a conference room.
kind of, yeah. Yeah, they may replace the little bit of furniture that they have in there. He's got a desk, and then there's a makeshift table that the radios sit on, but other than that, there's not really a whole lot. It's pretty tight.
At least for the time being, I'm fine with the 52.5.
I am as well.
Me too.
I'm probably okay on a couple of them, but on a couple of them, I'm not. The radios, I think, are there, that 13.5 and the 3,000 for furnishings downstairs, although that's probably a later in the year expense. I mean, I'm okay with putting that in there, but the fans and the fire trucks, probably
Truck
exit.
I think that gets back to what the chairman was talking about, community service as far as parking lots and volunteer fire departments. I mean, that's my deal, is we need to respond as quickly as possible, and the maintenance in the old vehicle is going to get at one point in time where we're throwing good money after bad. And how long ago has it been? 3 years since it replaced?
Four or five.
I think we're buying stuff for departments, right?
Well, some tools
Yeah.
Yeah.
and whatnot, but
It's not that we have a piece of equipment that we're maintaining and it's
No.
costing us more to maintain.
No, it's
This
not,
would buy a piece
but
of
we do
equipment and give it to the
maintain,
rural fire department.
we do maintain some of the equipment. Kind of on a piecemeal basis.
yeah, that would be for a brush pumper that the rural volunteer fire departments need to respond to fires.
That a rural fire department contract. It wouldn't be a pool truck, right?
They probably already got the
No.
trucks. I mean, We either get them over time or get them through grants,
Right.
and every once in a while we provide them. So it's probably replacing the cab and chassis of one that's end of life. And it's cheaper than replacing the entire trucking system because of the methodology that they've used.
Yep. Christie, what say you?
I'm fine with it all. If we increase for the public safety, I'd like to just remember next year, maybe they don't need that.
Right.
And all of a sudden, then we've got them up to a 56,000 level every year.
Yeah.
To avoid that situation.
I think going forward.
I thought he asked for this last year.
He did ask for it last year. By notating in the adjustments what we're recommending the increase or the decrease for, we can always put that onto another sheet when we're done to be able to reference that next year. And on that sheet, I would think, I would like to see, and I talked about this before, but number of employees or whatever, that we fund, that way, like with juvenile, when we have the, how many are we doing, was it new, was it vacant, whatever, at least so we know how many employees we're funding for that, for this fiscal year. So I do agree, I
As long
think
as we don't
that,
get into that.
yeah.
Are we in, at this point, because I didn't sit in this much last year, are we in better shape financially overall at this point than we were at this point last year, or worse?
Well, better. I mean,
We had about $1 million last year.
Then we chose not to fund the fire departments last year. We're in about the same shape.
Well, there's other things last year that were more pressing, I think is what the issue was.
Yeah, the equipment's a year older this year too.
What happens to other counties? I mean, counties that.
A lot of volunteer fire departments, they have rural fire districts where they get taxed and property taxes. Things get funded that way. I'm not real sure that we have rural fire districts.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, he
Yeah, we do. Deer Creek is one.
Deer Creek, okay.
agreed.
Yeah. And then Deer Creek does, and they're up to 2 or 3 spots now.
And David does that. I mean, he has a list every year of trucks and things that he wants to do. Did you guys talk about the radio tower? and all that
Yeah.
stuff? And what was the recommendation on that?
Well, we're still going around the table.
Oh, okay.
Everybody to me was for all 4 items,
Well,
I was for.
I don't know, I want to go around and make sure, Steve, you were fine with everything,
Yes,
Christie
sir.
was fine with everything, Danny,
I'm fine.
Larry,
Yeah.
Rick,
Sure.
Scooter?
Yeah.
Okay, I am as well, but we've got,
Well, I mean, if everybody else is fine with it, I'm not, I mean, it's $34,000 or $37,000, so I'm not gonna, if everybody's fine with it, then let's just put it all on there.
36.
59 and 30,000, 36 million.
yeah, okay. And let's move that over to the adjustments.
I should have waited and asked for mine till after lunch.
Not going there.
Yeah, I'll tell you what my grandpa used to always say whenever I wanted to stop for 10 minutes to go to the bathroom, and we got,
We
you
don't
know,
have a Merry Christmas.
we got 6 hours left on the trip, and that 15 minutes, we would already be there if we didn't have to stop. Grandpa, no, we would have been 15 miles down the road.
Well, if the regular grandparents drive, it might have been like 10. It was my grandpa. About 20 under the speed limit.
Danny, did you move that over to the adjustments column?
He just took it out of the follow-up.
Check it out,
So
follow
it's
up.
showing us an increase.
What's the exact amount of the benefits employees? I mean, I think that probably has to be funded, it has to be noted somewhere,
What is?
What is this?
the benefits employees. Do we have them covered in this budget?
In the
Yeah,
reserve
No,
amount?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Danny, before we get off of emergency management though, what happens is your column C, the adjustments column, is that tied to the increase decrease line? I.e., if you put the 52,000,
Put it there.
is it gonna roll over? Yeah, it does. Then I guess you can take it out of the adjustments and then just put the notation there, what it's for.
I have 52,000.
52.5.
Although maybe he went down in some other category by just a little bit, probably in his request. Probably where the 364 came from.
Why isn't it 52.5?
Because he went down in his request somewhere, and that's
His
probably what
M&O,
funding was.
his M&O is down to
I
135.
see, okay.
Yeah.
What's the bottom line down there, Daniel? Oh, not much, never mind.
Yeah.
We've done 52.11.
Hey, Danny, can we do this? Can you go to emergency management in the department column and highlight the word emergency management, highlight that cell? Because we don't, that's one that we've already decided everything on that one, so we don't need to come back to it. So if we could highlight the ones that we've already looked at, one color, that way we know which ones we still have to come back and look at.
On general government, on the sheet you sent out, Danny, was there a note about the contract for storage?
On this sheet that we sent out?
Yes, yesterday on the sheet you sent out.
No.
AET working document attached.
I saw the question that you just pulled up,
That was there, okay.
then do we need to put a dollar amount in that cell?
I think the question was the amount, wasn't it? The dollar amount?
Oh, for the next year contract, because of the increase.
So I have to get that number from Keith.
Yeah, I talked to Keith, he didn't think it would go up substantially. Originally, we thought it was gonna go up 20-30%. But I don't know what the new number is. I mean, obviously, I don't think he has it.
Let's put it on the watch list then, and we'll deal with it later. We don't know a number.
Yeah.
Now to plug in the current amount and then the increase.
Well, the current amount should be in their base funding, right, because they got the current amount last year.
Well, and we recommended in the M&O 15,000 for arbitrage, and it might come in at 10. Some of the other stuff may be different, so we probably have a little bit of wiggle.
I'm sure the commissioners are going to approve a new building tomorrow, so it may be a vote.
Potentially. All right, commissioners, I don't think there was any questions on that one, right? Assessor, we still have some stuff to come back to. Assessor reval, I don't think there was any questions. Treasurer, will come back. Come back. Back.
Both the premises funds.
Yeah, I think we can do the 26,101. I think we should move that to the adjustments and do negative 26,101, because if we're gonna do those phones, I think the way everybody's talked, there's no sense in giving anybody money for new phones to go onto this current system when we found out that we need to do something different. Purchasing, we had the,
Raises.
yeah, well, it was the, no, the cell phone stipend and the computers. We don't have anything there. Danny, before you get off of that, on purchasing, are we fine with funding at the requested level? Mike?
But with the raises?
No, not,
Without the
I'm sorry,
raises.
without the raises,
Yeah.
but with the
Stipend.
the computers.
$2,000?
Stipend increase, yeah, so it's a total of 2,000. Christie?
Oh, yeah.
Steve? Danny? Larry?
Yeah.
Rick? Scooter? Yeah, I am as well. Okay. Election board's good. BOCC, I think the HR.
We don't know that yet.
Well, that's,
No, we got that one all discussed. And I don't think anybody had any adds or subtracts on that one.
well, what's the ad,
What was the
17,838? Was that
Part of it,
moving?
that was when
Kelly moved
Kelly
over.
Hospital?
Kelly moving over there, I thought it was.
Got it.
Now, that one, depending upon, I don't know if the benefits is going to be standalone or go under that, or how that's going to work. So we may have to come back to that one to adjust there, or just add a new line item.
Well, I think the part of
Or
that
benefits.
agenda item, the agenda item, well, maybe not. I thought we had the office created with a new cost center, just no funding been figured out. Maybe I'm wrong. So we created a different department for them.
You could
There was a
almost
number and everything.
park the
Yeah.
salaries and benefits in that. You could almost just create a line of whatever number you gave it.
265, I think.
Nice.
How did you do that, Dan?
Abracadabra,
Can't tell you.
alakazam.
Hey, that's called trade secret.
What else have you got hidden on that sheet, Danny?
What was the amount for the employees?
Oh, you mean that we took from,
Mm-hmm.
It was 287 and change.
287, 152?
Yeah, 287, 152, 18.
I didn't have much under social services.
Just the raises, looks like.
Repair sign.
MIS, are we done with MIS?
You're getting, or we're taking 140. I can't read across there.
What was outstanding was Tyler Muse.
Yeah, I think he had requested to take the 18,000 out, so I think we should move negative 18,000 over into the adjustments column, and I think we should do the same thing with the Civic Plus, unless he comes back with more information about being able to do that Civic Plus. I don't see us keeping it in there, but
So do 12.4, what's the 12.4, 12.4, Danny?
increase in the Aegis contract.
Okay.
Contract increase.
Yeah, so just take the minus 31,000, I guess, on
The-
the,
Minus 18.
Minus 18,588.
Sorry.
18,588,
Whoa, no, that's the total,
Yeah, keep them separate on Friday now.
31,000.
plus a
Well,
negative,
18.
negative,
Yeah, negative 18 and negative 14.
do you need to notate that the 18,000 and the 13,000 are negatives? Anything else on MIS? All right, let's highlight it.
Still a question of moving the 250 to MIS.
Agreed.
They didn't put it in there.
Right.
You put it in
Yeah.
yours. I feel like we addressed that when we talked about yours.
Right, I think MIS is done, but if we have to do something with theirs because of
We can
yours,
still,
then we
yeah.
can, yeah.
Once we shred your records.
Is there a consensus on any of those items?
Which one are we on?
Facility.
Well, free fare, I think we could get that one out of the way.
Well, we're on the, he's got that comment box open on
Okay.
facilities management. Is there anything in there that anybody wants to move over into the adjustments column right now? Either definitely do it or definitely don't do it. If not, then let's go ahead and move on to the custodial. I just don't see how.
I mean, definitely don't do it on that, it doesn't equate.
Well, the only thing, the ninth floor over there is just, it's dead space right now, so it is not being cleaned, but.
And you think it's gonna start being cleaned this fiscal year?
I don't know.
I think you wait
And
until
it's
it's finished.
something that I think could always be,
Covered.
well,
Because they used to clean all the air with the jury rooms going.
exactly.
I mean, do we reduce our contract because that was under construction, or are we still paying them for cleaning areas that aren't being cleaned?
Well, and that's the other question, is the 9,700, is that because he needs to go ahead and get that in the contract for this fiscal year for the ninth floor over there?
I'm not familiar with that, I don't know if infrastructure's talked about it.
I'm a consensus, don't do it. I'm a second on that.
Christie, where are you?
Yeah, we can figure it out.
Steve?
Take it off.
Danny? Larry? Rick?
Take it off.
I'm the same. 9,700 over to the adjustments negative. When you move that, did it move your comment?
Looks like I see a little red hickey there.
Yep.
What'd you call that? Red hickey?
Okay, so we can highlight the facilities management
Time's
custodial.
coming, John.
Planning. That one's done. Court services.
I would kind of propose, and I don't know if we get consensus on this on juvenile, but until September, we leave them at level funding. I don't think we're gonna get enough information between now and next Thursday to figure out what adjustments can be made for them. Up or down.
I think she's still got a lot to figure out.
You're gonna highlight it in a lighter yellow, just in case you decide to go back to it?
I think we need that information because, I mean, we've got to do our best to budget.
No, leave it the way it is, see if she gets back to us.
Well, but currently, I mean, she said that she's definitely gonna have overtime, and there's no budgeted line, no information for overtime. I mean, I think at least we need that information.
Because if I don't think the budget line for overtime, she's gonna get attrition through employees being gone, she can shift some money, she can use some of that to pay some overtime. We're talking pretty small amounts in her case of overtime.
I thought it was 62.5 from this year,
Is it?
and then she multiplied it.
No, it was I remember it a little off, it was around 50 to 60.
Is it that the only way it can be set up?
What, the facility?
No, well, just the whole thing. I mean, what's different, and I may be getting myself down a rabbit trail, what's different about this and OSU? I mean, we got no oversight, right?
Well, but this is Aaron, you want to address that? I mean, it's definitely for sure 100% from the DA's office that OSU is not a county department. Juvenile's different. Juvenile is a county department. I mean,
It's a hybrid.
okay.
OSU is not a hybrid, so those two are not comparable.
So the Anderson, she's rating 76,000 for the year.
But here's when you look at the M&O, we don't have an answer yet on the M&O savings. I mean, so do they need to stay level? I mean,
Well,
yeah.
she's coming down off her estimate of needs, not necessarily her current.
Right, but her M&O, if you look at the savings that they're having this year, I mean, do we need to fund their M&O at the same level that they got this year for next year? I don't know. Maybe, it may need to be more, it may need to be less. I don't think we know on that.
Okay.
Well, if we've
We
got
don't have
other ones we're
consensus
going
on
back
that.
to
I think,
now,
yeah.
I say we, keep it to go back to. If we don't, if we don't want to hold up our whole recommendation,
Right.
if we don't get stuff from her before we need to do that.
Certainly.
And then
Yeah.
She said no later than Friday, right?
Yeah. And hopefully by tomorrow. That's what she said, so.
We'll just have a game plan to do those things.
Social services we should be done with.
Yeah.
Free fair we should be done with. OSU extension we don't have a clue about.
Highway 1, we're done.
District 1, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we're done.
District 3 we're probably done. What do we have on 3? Anything? No. 2's got some more stuff they want to talk about.
Well, there's stuff for 3 as well, the 85,000.
What was that?
That was just.
I think it's.
Paying out general fund.
Yeah,
Downtown
salary.
staff.
Or they're not on there for now?
Well,
I'd say whatever we do, we need to be consistent through the 3 districts.
well, my recommendation for District 1 was to keep us at level from the year before. We're actually at 1,000 less, but pretty close to level, so.
We can always borrow from you. But whatever we do, I mean, honestly, just from my point of view, I think we need to be consistent.
Level.
So are you gonna then move that 85,506 to the adjustments column?
So I think what Rick's saying is if we're gonna adjust anybody's, he wants his adjusted too. Is that right?
I just think the commissioner's offices should be consistent in what we do. I don't know if I'm making sense when I say that, but if District 1's gonna say we'll go with level funding, I would agree that District 3 could. Steve, I know you have a lot of stuff, and we argued. I
Well, we
argued on
discussed,
everybody's
yeah.
behalf.
Yeah. But no, I'd like to discuss mine. I mean, I'd like to talk to Ryan first. Obviously, the $100,000 is for the school parking lot, and the other furniture's $4,000 for the night before it ever gets done, and then $2,500 in travel. But I would like to talk to
Okay.
Mr. Mon.
So how about this, you got 100,000 for school parking lots,
Right.
4,000 for furniture, and 2,500 for, what was that?
Travel.
So that's 65, so that's 106,000 $250. How about, are you
Except
fine if we
small
put that
amount for
106?
the insurance.
Yeah, I thought we moved the insurance amount. Yeah, the 2934, we've already adjusted
Yeah.
for that. We all agreed you need that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so are you amicable then to do the 106,250, put that in the follow-up
Yeah,
discussion,
Yeah.
and then subtract the 358,386
I am.
from the 106, and whatever number that is,
Yeah.
move it over into the adjustments column. Now, you'll need to add the 2,900 as a positive number.
If it doesn't, then maybe.
What is that, 358,366?
386.
86. Enter 294.
Steve, why don't we pay that out of highway cash?
The school parking lot,
Uh-huh.
we can't use highway dollars.
I thought you could if it connected to a county road, a section line road.
No.
Am I wrong?
No.
Boy, I'm crazy. Why don't the other county commissioners have those projects in there? We have.
Well, District One has, ever since I've been here, I think Mr. Roth, when he was, got it put in there, the
We
two.
have the benefit of Deer Creek to.
Right, yeah.
They pay us. Edmund uses District Two, they don't. We don't do their part, as far as I can recall.
We got to your creeks and the drainage, they reimburse you for all that.
What I think we would do, that column that you're on right now would adjust to the 106,250, $106,250.
Negative, right?
Well, we've put everything else in as negative, so yeah, put that in parentheses or as a negative. And then if you want to add the comment, that was $100,000 for the school projects. Okay, for 5,500, yeah. So that's 105,507, 106,250. I think that column should be 255,820, right? If you take the original BET follow-up discussion, which was 358,386.
But it's at zero now. The increase decrease, I don't know.
But it shouldn't be, because we were doing the 2934, the increase.
Yeah, you're right.
So that's where that
Right.
other, you gotta add that to it.
You're right.
Mm-mm.
The 252,
Yep. Did you put the comments over there about the,
Wait, it's just an idea, but on
on the special money like the districts are wanting,
The school projects.
yeah, never mind. I was gonna say, have it under social services, you know, where they all kind of apply, and then social services would award it to whatever district it's in, but that way, all schools district-wide, that we can, that'd be a big policy type
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah,
Because then you get allocation of resources, salaries versus capital, and who's doing what, and then you get, that.
so when did that come up with Danny, District Two?
We've got increase of 2934
Okay,
for the benefits with this
Right.
in question.
gotcha.
Okay, engineer. Good. That one looked good.
So it's just a plug.
Do we get quarterly reports of that, for the economic development stuff? Anything changes?
That's a different.
That's the different pot money, yeah. This is just for us if we want to do any project. I mean, there's nothing against doing it.
That other one, I think, so
So
that's
that's
just
just
general
reserve?
government.
395 in reserve or what?
No, it's, I mean, it's in the Economic Development Cost Center, but it's not tied to the chamber
It's
contract.
not, so what do we spend it on, do we know?
We have nothing against it.
Oh, okay.
Just gonna sit there.
Larry, that's from the proceeds of the Stitch Factory that was sold to Boeing.
Boeing,
Gotcha.
the proceeds of it.
In actuality, that's District Two money, but we decided we shared.
Appreciate that. Well, Christie's gonna tell you that all this other money is.
I know, yeah, whenever I said that, I was thinking about the person that collects the money, and whoa. But then there's the
I mean,
assessment.
Larry, yeah.
Create it, create the bill.
Yeah.
All right, so employee benefits right now, where it stands, we are at 9.9 million transferred in this current fiscal year. We're looking at possibly another million possibly. So, I mean, we could be at $10.9 million transfer by the end of this fiscal year. So,
Yeah, but we've got the savings, and then if we're gonna look at the stuff that Mike brought up,
right.
Yeah, but $64,000 question is how much we hold back in reserve for next fiscal year for employees.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Which I think.
well, I'm kind of getting to where I'm comfortable, unless we need to really pick out some other stuff about, I'm trying to think what we put in there when we started last year.
I don't even think we can afford a $64,000 question. I don't think we can afford a $64,000.
Maybe we can lease it,
That'd be perfect.
lease to own.
Lease, question?
Ask for a translator.
We'll make you pay when you turn it back in, how's that? If you don't turn it in, you can add, you're gonna owe $150 for rental. If you do turn it in, $145.
Steve, do you guys have on your radar what you spend what school and?
We don't, I don't, some of the people out in the field do, you know, we have several. I mean, you know, in District One is similar to ours, we have a lot of old schools in District Two. We got several on 29th, and some of those are just, I mean, potholes, you know, little kids want to go to the bus and stuff. But, no, I don't get involved in actually picking the schools, but that's what they would do, they'd look at the worst. They're all gonna say they need to be redone, but obviously we can't do that.
When we pay the $100,000 out of the general fund to have that happen, what happens to the reimbursement? Does that go to the general fund or does it go to the community?
No,
All paid out of highway.
the highway,
So,
yeah,
No, no,
they,
no,
no,
they,
it's the other way
they
around.
send an invoice and then that's paid out of general fund.
Yeah, so the $100,000,
Reimbursed.
the reimbursement goes back into the
Highway.
district's
Yeah.
general fund.
Yeah.
But it's a zero sum,
Yes.
because say we have a school project and say it's $100,000, and these numbers would never work out like this, but let's say it's $50,000 for materials, $50,000 for labor and equipment. What you would do is you would use the highway cash up front for the $100,000 to do the material and the labor and equipment. Highway cash sends two bills. They send a bill to general fund for the labor and equipment and a bill to the school for the materials. The schools are required to pay 100% of materials, and general fund can pay for the labor and equipment through reimbursement. So Larry, I know what a common question is, I mean, the follow-up to that is, well, if you're reimbursing, if you have the money in highway cash, why are we reimbursing? I mean, why is that necessary? And it's just because the statutes are so strict on what you can expend highway cash dollars on. You can't expend them on those types of projects. So the highway cash fund has to be made whole. It can't pay for it. If the statutes were changed, then we could.
This was our adopted budget last year, when we put $4.2 million in reserve.
And what was the supplement in September, you know?
That is $1.6 million.
Okay. I don't think we can do that this year.
I think we still look at the sheriff's office request. But now I want to go back to the conversation we've already had. We spent an hour going through and dissecting and looking at some specifics around the list and not the classification of lots of stuff that Danny decided to throw on there.
No, that was someone else's.
That was all of us. Well, not all of us.
Not all of us.
I'll take this seat for that.
So I think there's some additional things that we discussed I think are still important to go back to the operation of the detention center, as well as some other constitutional responsibilities that need to be looked at.
Anything specifically?
We've got a detention center, but we looked at 70% of core services, which are required for the daily operation of the detention center. We talked about the judicial division was serving civil papers, and then the question that we still need to have some conversation on is where courthouse security stands as a priority for the county.
Okay, hang on just a second. On the 515-078, that was cap overage, medical, and food. We talked about doing, instead of on the estimate of needs, it was 100% of the core services out of general fund. We talked about doing the 70-30 split. Why don't we look at that number on the core services and take the 30% for the core services out on that line, unless anybody
We
has
already did,
objections.
and that was 853, 531, 47.
That was the 30%, no.
That was the 70%.
But that's looking at your request. So if we took, instead of the 70% number, you take the 30% number as a negative on the adjustment side, and then that leaves the 70% into the funded side. Follow?
You want to go and do that now?
Well, I'm just throwing that out as an idea.
I mean, if
you're wanting to do the 70%, I would go to the 515 and add that actual figure, so you're getting everything that we've added. I mean, it's gonna be the same across, but it just might be easier to follow.
Oh, I got you. That way, on the increase, decrease from 16, 17, it'll increase there, yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm following you.
Current level right here, how much of this would that fund?
Well, that's what I was trying to go back and just delete off the things that weren't there before. And the way I had left it after we had our conversations last week, the only things I had that we had discussed of leaving in there were the core services, detention, and court processing. And those three were 15.77 as far as salaries go. And then retirement, and like it's easy enough to go back and look at the healthcare as far as the numbers. Let me see if I did that. And then all the M&O expenses that were there in our request were strictly for the jail. But we did back out the anticipated revenue in commissary, since those funds can only be used for detention center operations to benefit the inmates. So those expenses were backed out regarding the special revenue fund estimate of needs based on that projected revenue. So with core detention, court processing, what I came up with was, and all the M&O expenses for the jail, came up with 35.07, just a little bit over that. And then the question still would be, as far as courthouse security goes, as it is today, courthouse security only essentially funds 6 positions. And as I explained before, courthouse security has 2 separate, essentially, sections, so to speak. You've got the physical security of the courthouse, and the annex, and then you've got the courtroom security, which is dealing mostly with inmates, moving the inmates to and from the holding centers up on the 11th. As well as guarding those inmates in the courtrooms. And so I can make a pretty good case that that's an inmate-related expense. And that's the courtroom side of it. And then courthouse security, just the answer becomes, if that's something that you all desire to have. Right now, we get about $425,000 to $450,000 that pays for that. That's only about 5 or 6 deputies plus the M&O capital expenses. I can tell you, I believe it's a fairly important function that we serve over here. If you knew some of the attempts and things that have been confiscated, taken away from people, I think you would agree, and I've already talked to our
commander over the courthouse security operations. He's got no issue coming to speak with you all, in some generalities, just to try and paint that picture for you all. But bottom line is the money we get in those fees for civil and criminal filings doesn't come close to providing the funding for the operation that occurs over here.
Do you have a breakdown on how many are courthouse and how many are courtroom?
Yeah,
11
courtroom.
and 16, I see it, never mind.
Well, yeah, and then there's
That's it.
6 that are in the other fund.
Okay.
Yeah.
John, let me ask you a question. So, on core services, core services at 100%, courthouse security at 100%, and court processing at 100%, that wasn't all out of special revenue last year. So some of that is already in
Well,
your budget, your current year funding, if we were to keep you,
Last
some of
year-
that's already funding, and now you're saying you need it.
no,
You didn't pay all that out of, that wasn't all out of special revenue, right? Last year?
no, it wasn't a lot of special revenue. Let me explain.
Right.
Whenever we built our budget this year, we built our budget in a way we've never built it before, that was extremely transparent and different than it's ever been done.
Right.
What we did was we assessed our revenues for special revenue and service fee, and then we backfilled our entire budget based on here's
Right.
what's there, here's the positions, here's the services those can provide.
I follow that, but some of it was already in your current year budget of last year, right?
Last year, it was way to the last second to change our stuff, so we operated, we paid some of them out of general fund because we weren't set up, nor had the time to really shift things around and do it that way. This year, that's what we're attempting to do. The way I've got it figured out, not even, with 70% of core services, with detention, with court processing, what I'm showing is a total bottom line, and that's not counting courthouse security. I'm showing a total of 35.07, which is only an $800,000 increase more. It's only $300,000 more than what's up on that list right now.
Okay, John, real quick, I want to make sure I'm clear. Looking at that form right there, what you're looking at is that $1.2 million, multiply that
Yeah, you have-
70%, so that number would be $863,530,147.
Is that running by HDMI, Danny? Are you connected to HDMI for that TV?
Yeah.
So I can just plug my computer in, because I broke it down the way you guys discussed, and that way we can all see it up on the board. Would that be helpful?
It might, but I just had, you take the 70% of that.
Right.
And you add the detention, the full 14 million. What you were just talking about a minute ago,
The court
about
process.
800,000 more, you added court processing.
That was it.
Okay, so warranting.
No,
and-
took them off
And then.
and zeroed out everything else, which is why I said we still need to look at, courthouse security was one of the ones I still wanted to discuss.
Okay.
And, we went back and looked, and I can just tell you, our special revenue funds in the last 5 years, service fees gone down almost 15%, and special revenue fund, as far as the sheet that Danny, and this is just going sheets that Danny sent out. In the last 5 years, service fee fund is down 14.96%. Special revenue 27.79, comparing fiscal year 15-16 to 5 years ago. When you're looking in the big scheme of where those rank, those are some of the larger reductions.
How much revenue are you getting for courthouse security?
About 425 to 450. And that's on the $10 filings for criminal and civil cases. That pays maybe 6 people plus M&O and capital expenses. And that's for courthouse security. It's not factoring in the courtrooms, it's not factoring in, right now you've got 33, maybe 34 right now, people that are providing that function. And I can tell you right now, losing that would be scary.
Do you pay any of these out of general fund right now? These two categories?
Warrant squad, no. Processing, we have a little bit just because of the way everything was set up this year. But our intention is to do it the way that they requested, where everything's out, all attention's out of general fund.
Danny, what I
I
did,
mean, last year, again, that was a curveball at the last second that we weren't prepared or set up to really function that way. And that's our intent for this year is to do it, those wishes of the budget board.
The reason I'm asking is your current budget, you got 16.4 million budget for salary, right?
Yeah, and it'll be about 57,000 more. Our detention numbers are.
No.
Well, hold on. Going back, if I'm looking I'll have, hold on. Let me show you one.
Well, if you take 70% for the court, and you add detention, and you add court processing, all of court processing, all of detention, 70% of court services, that's $15,770,015.07.
But you got 600,000 for overtime.
Well, right.
So the total difference between last year and this year for salaries was 58,847.
Well, the difference between last year, the 16,461, and that 15,700 number that I gave just a second ago, is $691,152.93. You take out the 600,000 for overtime, then this fiscal year, they would have been budgeted $91,152.93 more than what we're looking at with the 70% on the core, all of the detention, and the court processing. So if we approved what we talked about just a second ago, your salaries would be less this next fiscal year than what you got the year before.
I'm showing a difference of 58,847. Whenever all I did was delete some of those areas.
Well, I think it's, you said 600,000.
But again, if you guys want a budget for our office, come over to my office any day you want and do it for me.
No. We're trying to.
Because that's what happened last year. If that's how you guys want to start doing it, you be my guest.
How much money we got right now, Danny, as far as on your first sheet, how much money do we have to appropriate for to the budget?
Total?
Yeah, they're on the bottom line. Available funding 3.2.
No.
Oh, you
Or
know
91. Are we down?
$3.2.
The difference was the 150 for the part-time. So, and I was actually, believe it or not, with your comment, I don't think you believe it, but I was actually coming from we need to try to, you're gonna have less salary, so we need to increase that. So just.
But you understand where I'm coming from, my frustration from how last year played out.
This isn't last year,
Okay.
and if we do that, then we're gonna get into last year. So you did a really good job of being transparent and getting us the numbers. Let's just stay calm and let's try to figure this out. So if we funded the core services at 70%, if we funded detention at 100%, according to those numbers, and we funded court processing at 100%, those numbers come up to $15,770,015.07.
Yes, 15,770, 15,770. That's what I got.
Right.
And then 150 for part-time, and then 600,000 for overtime.
Can I ask a question? Am I allowed to?
if I could just hear part of what was going on upstairs and watching down here, the courthouse security, is that what you're looking at funding at 70%?
Court
No,
services.
no, we don't even know if, no, this is whether they're gonna pay, whether we're gonna fund this out of general fund or special revenue. So courthouse security may be 100% paid out of here, it may not be paid at all out of here, so we don't know.
We're not looking at cutting courthouse security.
Depends on how it gets funded.
I don't know.
Depends on how it gets funded. I can answer that right now.
Well, I can assure you there's a number of issues with that, so if that becomes a discussion, I certainly want to be here to make the courts be heard.
But there's two
Well,
different parts.
you've got-
Courthouse security and there's courtroom security.
Well, they're both very critical.
I understand.
They're actually both very, very critical.
Give us a check for $5 million for being able to do it.
All I know is it's a statutory mandate, when you have people trying to attack judges, it's a problem. So I'm not trying to be, I just want to come down and find out what the issue is.
But we've got statutory mandates, we've got constitutional mandates, we've got stuff that the state should be paying, that they're not paying. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on here and a lot of moving parts. So we're trying to do the best that we can to figure out what we got. The sheriff's office is trying to figure out the best way that they can expend their funds in an efficient manner. We're all trying to do what we need to do.
I mean, I feel that the way we budgeted this year is a first for us in a very long time. Our objective was, we've already made drastic reductions in areas outside detention. We're merely trying to maintain a status quo. We feel the areas that we've already reduced staffing, we've essentially reduced those to the bare bones minimum to be able to perform that function. Courthouse security is, for the most part, bare bones where it sits today. Courthouse security realistically needs more bodies, and that's why we requested more bodies, especially in the courtrooms. But taking away the additional staffing that we requested, the budget was built to maintain a status quo. It wasn't built to grow our agency in size. That was never the intent. It's not what we were trying to do. Unfortunately, with the way things work, is as we progress year to year, expenses increase. Our employee salaries aren't increasing. There are increases to expenditures that are outside of our control. Inmet Medical is a good example. But Inmet Medical has come down because our risk pool, so to speak, has decreased. Our overall inmate population has come down. So that's been beneficial. Can I say that's the only variable that has reduced our liabilities on Inmate Medical this year? Absolutely not. Because again, just like with employee benefits, one or two claims can really make or break you. And we've been fortunate enough this year, we haven't had any massive shock claims like we did last year. Our off-site medical claims for this year are tracking to be the same for all inmates as they were for the top 10 inmates last year. And I think that speaks volumes to the explanation of why we were so high on off-site last year. But we're making strides to streamline and bring our agency to where it's under financial stability, where we feel comfortable moving forward. We've been battling for the last number of years some pretty big revenue reductions that weren't necessarily in our control, and we understand that, so we did our best to reduce where we needed to reduce to fall in line with those revenue streams. And the bottom line is, when that detention center was built, it was built on one of the worst business models imaginable, and that was on housing inmates. And so you couple that with the way that the building is designed and the limitations we have to some extent on being able to reduce staffing levels due to line of sight, direct supervision versus indirect supervision. There are so many variables that come into play as to what some of our limits are with what we can and can't do where we're at. And I'm not voicing that saying we have to have a new building or we don't have to have a new building. That's just saying that in the confines of where we currently sit, there are some restrictions, and this year, with the exception of what we asked for, an additional detention officers and courtroom deputies, we built that based on maintaining a status quo from last fiscal year going to this fiscal year to stabilize us, and moving forward, we can look at some of those things. But this year alone, one of the biggest hits we're seeing in special revenue is almost $630,000 in the Oklahoma City boarding agreement.
Is that 16, 17 revenues or 17?
It will be for 17, 18. We already know what that reduction is going to be. And 626 was there based on averages of the prior year and so forth, and then we negotiate the rate. So that's a $626,000 reduction in that special revenue. Due to our population come down, yes, it ever so slightly, because they based on averages. It's not a guarantee it's going to be that way. Oklahoma City's done a pretty good job of following some of the VERA recommendations to reduce their city inmate population, and we applaud them for that. And we understand that, but there's a certain overhead, so to speak, of operating a detention center. Staffing levels aren't where they really need to be for even the current number of inmates we have in that facility. But we're making it work. And so we understand the position the county is financially. We understand that. Which is why when TD asked me to build this budget this year, that we built it the right way. I didn't feel we were in a position to ask for a lot of added growth. I think we're still trying to get financially stable. As Danny can attest, our revenues over the last couple of years, our carryover, so to speak, have dwindled drastically. A lot of that was, I think you could say, expenditures were outside your revenues coming in. And I truly think, especially with the changes we've made here in this last couple months, that is our goal, that is our objective moving forward. I'm just asking you to bear with us while this year we get financially stable. I think we're going to, especially when we can get the funding that we're asking for to some extent. And I'm doing everything I can to make it through this fiscal year by being a good steward of the money we've already been given and trying not have to ask for any additional funds. And so that's my goal for this year, and my goal next year is going to be the same. We're just asking that we be funded to maintain status quo. That's the bottom line.
What's that number, 35 million what?
Well, that doesn't take into consideration the courthouse security.
Special revenue account, you can cover that expense to special revenue.
Yeah, $425,000 of it. That's what we received. And that was only 6 employees of the 33 we have now. So,
Do you have a bottom line, John, as far as everything?
Looking at, again, if you're looking at the general fund, those are the positions that we requested there, not adding in the additional 40 detention officers, 6 courtroom deputies. You're looking at $125,000 to $130,000 for the warrant team. I would feel fairly comfortable that I could probably find a way of absorbing that at least. But as far as courthouse security goes, that's a big number. And with the estimated needs, we took the revenue projections for those two, and we backfilled in the general fund. And so that's what I don't believe the revenue for next fiscal year and our special revs will cover while maintaining our current areas of responsibility.
And see, I think that's where it's going to become difficult, because I don't know if general's going to be able to subsidize your special funds, as far as any losses.
That's one of the things that used to be paid out of there, and it's not revenue for it. So, again, those fees only bring in $425,000 to $450,000. That pays for 6 people plus the M&O and capital costs. That's not nearly the amount needed. I mean, in the courtroom alone.
And I know you're being subsidized, I know how important that function is, don't get me wrong. What I'm thinking, going down the road is that other savings you could realize. Because like I'm saying, it appears to me, and I understand because Highway has felt some of the crunch, not as much as you, that when your funds start dwindling in your special accounts, I don't think.
And we've reduced the expenditures in those accounts to match those. We've reduced the number of people in patrol.
Right.
I mean, we've reduced those numbers. We've reduced the number of dispatches. We've made cuts across the board to get down where we're at today. And we're operating with 26 to 28 patrol deputies right now on 4 shifts, factoring in the fact that people have annual leave, sick leave, they're on vacation, and other things pop up. I mean, we're already spread thin just in the unincorporated areas with our deputies. PD, since becoming acting, has given us strict directives that our patrol deputies will be in the unincorporated areas. That will be their sole focus. And so we're not going to leave the unincorporated areas high and dry. We will not, and we cannot.
John, how about we look at tackling this a couple pieces at a time? From a constitutional standpoint, we've got the detention employees. I think the budget board last year made it clear that their intent was to make sure that all the detention folks were paid for out of general fund. So if we take that 14 million and change and definitely fund that out of general fund, if we look at core services, the 70%, if we put that in, that's $863,531.47, and then Erin seemed to be fairly certain, although, I mean, she wasn't giving legal opinion, but that court processing is probably a constitutional duty. So if we add those 3 items up, plus the overtime and part-time, those come up, well, before the overtime and part-time, it's $15,770,015.07. Overtime and part-time, $750,000, so that gets us to $16,520,15.07, which, compared to last fiscal year, that consisted of $16,461,168, that would be a $58,847.07 increase in salaries. If we funded 70% core, 100% court processing, and all of the detention. The benefit expense, I just took that 58,000, multiplied it by 0.1965, that's $11,563.45. So 58,847.07, and 11,563.45. That's a total of $70,410.52 more than what they were budgeted in 16-17. I would make the recommendation that we move that amount over to the adjustments column, and then we can continue discussing from there. But I think that would get us 100% covered on our constitutional requirements on those employees.
So that leaves no recommendation for courthouse security?
Or the warrant team right now.
Right.
I mean, as soon as we're done with this, we can continue on the conversation, but I think it'll help, kind of divvy this conversation out a little bit.
We're doing a bite at a time.
Yes. So that would be plus 58,847.07. And that's, well, we'll do this description in the box. And then 11,563.45.
right?
No, 1.1?
No, the increase now should be 585, 488, 52.
It's 11,005,
Yeah, you
11,000,
put a decimal point on
115,000.
585, 488, 52?
40 million.
Okay. Okay, so go ahead and on the comments there, put fund detention, 100%. Core services.
Detention personnel, 100%.
Yeah, detention salaries. Core services, 70%. Court processing, 100%.
Court.
Court. And then we did put salaries, but that also includes benefits on all of those. Now, the one thing that did not include is medical that's associated with those folks. What did you use for your formula?
The average per person was hold on,
Well, but we don't know how many people this consists of, so.
I can tell you. 25 plus 19 was 473, which was 510 people at $650 on average cost per FTE, which was 3.974, or 3,974,100.
I don't think it's not the full 25.
Right, right.
People,
Yeah, that's what I had.
and what was your amount?
Let me go back to it. $3,974,100. 510 people at 650.
Okay, here's what I did. I took core services and multiplied it by 0.3. So of the 25 employees, that would leave, I think it was like 7.5 employees on something else. So I took that number and added that to the 11 and to the 16 for the courthouse security, and the warrant team was 3 FTEs. So that totals up to 37.5 employees that we are not looking at funding this very moment. So how much per employee?
$650.
So
On
that,
average, $650 per employee per month.
so that's 24,000 a month. So that's 292,500. So we'll just subtract that number from the benefit, from the medical that you already put in here. You following me, Danny? What I did was I figured out on the core services, how many right now, let's say we make the recommendation like what we're kind of discussing. Well, we've not made a recommendation to fund 30% of the core services. So I took that number of employees, 30% of the 25, plus no courthouse or courtroom security folks, plus no warrant team folks. That was 37.5 employees. He had associated $650 per employee per month. So I took that 37.5 times 650 times 12 to get the 292,500 that we're not necessarily gonna fund. We may not, and I'm just gonna subtract that number from the total, medical that he requested, because he requested 100% of all of that. So if we back out those 37 and a half people, it would represent that number.
So no funding for courthouse security?
Not general fund.
What we're saying is,
I mean, that's just what, I'm just asking, because I'm new to this process.
I understand, and trust me, Mike and Amy have your back.
But I'd like to understand too.
And we're just a recommending body also, it's up to the budget.
I understand that. I know all these meetings are just recommending, but, so if that's not what you're saying it's just not out of this fund, it's out of a different fund.
we haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
We're waiting.
We're getting there.
We'll talk to you.
Okay, so then the 292,500 would I guess we would just take that 292,500, we wouldn't have to subtract that from the total, we would just put that over in that column there.
As a note.
Right.
At this point. So, the two, give me the number again.
292,500. And that's for medical, for the positions that are to be determined.
So,
Okay, so now we got the court services, we got detention, and we got the court processing. So now what's left on the budget is, and Scooter said that he can probably absorb warranty. So there's really three items left. The courtroom security, courthouse security, and the M&O increase, other than the M&O increase that we already have on there, the $515,000.
Courtroom security dealing directly with the inmates. Everyone wants to escort inmates to and from the courtrooms.
I know we went through that kind of fast. Does everybody kind of track what I was doing on the 30% and all that? Amy, but I think we need to make sure that it's a consensus to put that over in the adjustments column. I mean, we did that, but we didn't ask the question. Amy, where are you on that? Are you fine with putting that over in the adjustments to fund it?
Well, I think we're leaning towards more of leaving it in the BET follow-up discussion column. Right now.
Okay. Christie?
I'm okay leaving it in adjustments, we just gotta work through the rest of it.
Right, and that's my intent, is to
Yeah.
continue to work, but Steve?
Yes, I'm good.
Danny?
Good.
Larry? Good. Rick's good. Scuba?
Yeah, keep going.
I'm good, but,
It's okay, we can keep,
okay.
I'm trying to get some.
And I'm putting these things in a blank estimate of needs to hopefully help.
Okay.
So once the items are done, I'll throw this up on the screen to show what it is, to make sure that the increase here matches there. I think there's a little bit off, but until we get to the end, it's gonna be hard to show what that is.
Remind me, I want to say something about this thing that you were just talking about. Related. Well, I was gonna say, to help with the line item recommendation, that's one thing that we could do, is do a blank estimate of needs form for every, like what he's doing, and our recommendation will be salary and benefits, M&O, and just do a new, I mean, it won't be submitted by the department, but that'll be our
Right.
recommendation. That's what I've kind of been thinking about, so, okay.
So right now you have 27 courthouse security personnel, plus the 6 that you're paying out of your other fund.
6 with the fees covered,
So right now, these 27 are being paid out of your special revenue fund.
mixture. They're balanced between 3 different funds.
Which ones?
Service fee, special revenue, general fund, the only 3 we can use.
Well, but right now, since we're if we do 30% of core services, and not necessarily looking at the individual FTE classifications, but just kind of as a whole, when we're doing 70% of core, 100% of detention, and 100% of court processing, that was $58,000 away from what you have this fiscal year. So wherever you paid the exact classification, the overall expense, everybody else that's not paid would currently in this fiscal year be paid out of special revenue. Because you have 16 million, whether you've got courthouse processing or court processing folks being paid out of here, or courtroom security, or core services. If core services over here, and we're moving them to here now, and then we just move them over here, I mean, it's, you just have to look at the overall numbers. So everybody else that is currently not on the adjustments column recommended from this group would have funding from this past fiscal year. Now, whether you'll have the money next year or not, that's a different question, but all of those, the numbers associated with those folks would have been paid out of a special revenue account. Not that you can do that next year, but I think before we get to those though, what about the M&O? Because the M&O last year was paid for out of the special revenue accounts, by and large.
Because we weren't prepared to set up to
Right.
go along with the
Right.
budget that was prepared for us.
Right. The game has changed a little bit on you. I mean, we shifted. It is, those items are all associated with the detention center,
All of
correct?
them.
So those are also constitutional items. So,
And again, there's additional M&O and capital expenses that aren't on here that we're funding out of our commissary revenue because that is restricted to inmates. For example, you're not seeing a whole lot of capital on our general fund request. So our laundry lease, our dishwashing lease, you aren't seeing those on here because we're budgeting to pay for those out of our commissary revenues next year. And that's to the tune of between $1.3 and $1.4 million, I think, total in jail expenses that we're going to be paying for out of the commissary revenue fund, as well as the resale supplies for the commissary. But I just want to point that out, that some of those are being paid for in commissary, which when they built our budget last year for us, that wasn't taken into consideration because they never asked.
well, that it's $1,084,000 more of an ask this year versus last year. But last year, you only, hang on, let me finish. You only had a few items that were included last year. This year, if you include all of the detention expenses, which would, in my mind, kind of track with what Budget Board has wanted to do. The difference of $1,084,000, that also includes the $515,000 that we already pulled out. So the additional money is $569,063.05.
And goes to where I'm just gonna, I'm looking at these numbers from just not touching on the spreadsheet, the M&O and capital, and just making the adjustments to salaries and benefits. I want to go back and confirm it. I'm only showing an increase of $803,000, where if you add that 5, you're looking at a little over $1 million. So, I've checked the formulas a few times, but I can check them again. With just the things we talked about, the M&O that's listed, because I'm showing a little bit, actually I'm showing $361,000 less in benefits. So that's what I double check, but I think it's right, it's all formula driven. It's not another 5 or 700,000. The bottom line is it's only just over 800,000. When you look at the big picture, everything that we've talked about so far as people go. Showing 803, 377, 12. I think with what you said, adding 500 some odd to the adjustments would put us over $1 million. I mean, I'm fine with that, but I'm being transparent with how it's calculating for us.
Well, if you've got the numbers there, what are you showing for your salary?
I'm showing salaries, including the full-time, part-time, and overtime, to be 16,520, 15,07.
Okay,
Is what you have already.
Right.
But I'm showing our benefits to be 7,154,283.
$7,154,283.
Again, yeah, and that shows a difference of 361,611 less. And there's a lot of things that can play into that. Whenever it was appropriated that way, that was based on the way it was set up. Healthcare stuff changes, up, down, but that's what we're showing it based on running the averages.
Okay.
M&O 11, 374, 851.05.
Hang on, 11,374.
851.05, and then 22,000 in capital. And to me, that's a total of 35,071, 14912, which is an increase of 803, 377.12.
And
Overall.
not to belabor the point, but just to be clear, what you've got there would be paying detention, 100% of your detention FTEs, 70% of core service FTEs, and 100% of core processing FTEs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because our salary numbers jive exactly, so.
Yeah, I just wanted to. So budget would increase $860 some odd thousand, but that would get all of the constitutional FTEs.
And 500 of that is medical.
And, right. And that would get all of the M&O expenses that are related to detention center under general fund.
And it's based on what we're able to pay out of our service unit special revs. There wouldn't be enough to cover courthouse security at the level it is today.
How much of a difference would there be from the amount of money that you get special revenue and the amount you're requesting for courthouse security? For courthouse security.
We're talking about, so what courthouse security costs versus what we're receiving?
Right.
Hold on. I'll just do salaries, because that was one of the things I included in my PowerPoint presentation, you also have that broken out. Let me go dig into that real quick.
While you're digging into that, Aaron, you agree that there is a distinction between those three categories, the court processing, detention, and potentially some of the core services as being constitutional versus potentially the courthouse security is not, correct?
I agree that courthouse security is not.
What about courtroom?
Court services is dependent on the specific service, and I recognize that y'all have
Right.
put it in a way that doesn't require answering of which part of the core services is constitutional or not. Detention is constitutional. What was the other one?
Court processing.
Court processing, yes.
So, I think if we're gonna, whatever we're gonna fund on salaries and benefits, I think those FTEs are the ones that we have to do first. And then if we can do something else, you know, then we can look at, you know, the security folks. But I think from the constitutional standpoint, I think we gotta look at what we've looked at there, and then if we can go above and beyond that, that's, there is.
Is that listed in the special revenue account somewhere?
The revenue is, it's under service fee.
Service fee?
To answer your question, Larry, 1.773 million, which is 33 employees. So roughly 1.77 million for those positions. We were bringing between $425,000 and $450,000 in those fees, since they've started to include civil filings.
Just for my benefit, do you know where it is in your, what's the count for the revenue stream?
What's
For the courthouse security?
under service fees, there's a special cost center for it.
Yeah. Is that in there somewhere?
I don't have that in front of me, hold on.
But you're saying the total amount of money coming into that account is 1.7 million?
No, that's,
You asked two questions. You asked what the salaries costed and what the revenue coming in was. The revenue coming in is between $425,000 and $450,000. The salaries for courthouse security operations, both courthouse security and courtroom security, are about 1.77 million for the totality of it.
So if you're looking for the revenues on page 194. John, on your revenue, you've only got 390 in here.
Yeah, it's 10%, take the 10% out, but
No, that's what you have in the
No.
collection, and then over here you've got 90% at 351 for it.
it's about, that's collections current, so it's,
Without, you didn't estimate the rest of the money.
right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think too, beginning this year, we weren't, I would have had all this year, it was last year. If I looked at it, I believe it was between 425 and 450 total, but again, that's gonna fluctuate based on filings.
Wasn't there, something at the legislature to increase more claims amount?
For small claims, but they're not sure where it's gonna sit.
Right, yeah.
And I mean, that has the potential to increase it drastically.
Yeah.
When that comes into effect, there's no way of knowing if it even
Right,
passes.
it'll pass, yeah.
If we're covering all the detention officers, core services that support that, the M&O for detention out of general fund, what's the revenue for the prisoner boarding fees gonna cover?
That's our estimate needs there that you can look at.
No, but what is it gonna cover? If we're covering detention expenses out of general fund?
Let me pull it up, and we can look at, if you pull it up, we can look at it together. That way everyone can see it. Page 204. Or 220 in the PDF. Oh, hold on. 204 is the number we're at. I think that could go up. I'm showing 330 pages in the one that you sent us. Not 304. But if you go down to this last page where it breaks down salary computation, that will give you an idea. And everything you see in special revenue, M&O and capital, that's commissary. Those are the 5 areas.
Just a semantics question. So if we're bringing in revenue here for the cost of detaining prisoners from federal, state, state and city, shouldn't that revenue be used to pay expenses
Well, I can answer that question right now.
detaining those prisoners? We're using it for.
Where is it going?
That's when you cut all our law enforcement funding out of general fund. You didn't really give us an option when you built our budget for us last year, Danny.
Wasn't me. That was the budget board.
All the numbers you presented, but it's okay.
I didn't present those numbers to the budget board.
Okay.
I'll take the heat for that. But to that point, here's a question though. If budget board wants all of the associated costs with detention paid for out of general fund,
Right.
then what would you do with those other funds?
Which is exactly what we're doing, because that was what budget board directed last year.
Right.
So we're operating off of their wishes. Because their response was, they're gonna fully fund detention center out of general fund, and the conversations were had that the balance of those funds, since the general fund fully funded detention center, could be used for the rest of the operation of the sheriff's office. Now, if you want to start getting into dictating what service we provide, we can have that conversation. But just let me know, and we'll let people know they want to start talking about things of that nature. You talk about we're funding special funds, we're giving general fund dollars potentially to people so we can provide parking lots to schools. We're providing dispatch services to all the small departments out east because they can't afford it. You want us to stop doing that and tell the Harris, Nicole Park, Spencer, Jones, we wish you the best of luck.
Talking to me?
Just a general statement. So there's a lot of things that we provide that are being provided by other departments, other special revenues that benefit the county as a whole.
And I think part of the point, and I understand where this conversation could go, but when those funds are reduced in that service fee fund, then obviously the services that you're providing now would have to also be reduced.
And they have. But they're to a level where we can't reduce them anymore without jeopardizing public safety, especially on the patrol side. Those are where they're at. dispatchers are where they're at. We're already struggling there. So if the conversation is gonna start going towards what services, and we're gonna be essentially guided in what services the sheriff's office provides, let me know and I'll bring more people to the table. And I'll have the full room of people in this to have that conversation.
Well, that's not gonna be productive at all.
No, but we're not here dictating how anyone else
And I
operates.
don't think anybody has implied or intimated that on this.
That's where it seems to be going.
Well,
It's just difficult because it's such a large agency with, I mean, a $5 million increase.
There's a lot of moving parts, I understand that.
Most of us have taken.
And John, I think everybody at this table wants the same thing. I mean, I think I can speak for all of us. No one's picking on you. It just is large. We're just trying to figure out, try to get a handle on it.
You're right, and it always comes back to we're large, any changes for us are expensive. Our employees get to see everyone else get pay raises because their special revenue fees are going up, which allows you to. Well, there's been conversations at budget board with, well, we can't afford to give the raise to the sheriff's office, it'd be too expensive, while our employees sit here and watch everyone else give one. So, I understand that we're large, I'm not using that as an excuse, but bottom line is, it's a very large, complex organization. It wasn't funded correctly under good business practice when it was initially done, and we're still paying the price for that. And I'm not advocating.
Well, I think that's why we're having the conversation today, we're trying to make it better.
I mean, I'm not advocating for anything for special treatment, but bottom line is, we have a very large beast that is extremely complex in numerous areas. And that's just the nature of detention. You look at other budgets, you look at Tulsa County Sheriff's Office budget, for example, try and compare it to ours. It's going to tell you kind of how they operate. I can tell you their operating budget's the same as or a little bit larger than ours for our detention center. They have the number of inmates we have. So you can't, there's no apples to apples comparison trying to compare us to anybody else.
Right.
And if people want to try and understand our financials, come on, I'd invite everyone over to come sit down with me for a week, but no one's really taking me up on that offer. People like to armchair quarterback our financials. Okay, that's fine, I get it, people can do that all day. But bottom line is, we have a very big, complicated operation, and we're trying to get as simplified as we can, and that's what we're doing. I'm trying. Never before have you all seen the transparency that we've given this year. That's because I believe this is the clearest way of showing it. There is no hiding or manipulating information at this point. I mean, it's there, it's crystal clear. We're trying to maintain status quo. This is how we can maintain status quo. We believe we've already cut stuff down to the bare bones minimum for what it is today. And people have their opinion, I get it. You're welcome to opinions on it. But until you understand the big picture, it's tough. And bottom line is, you have to understand it. And until people are in our shoes and are over there and are willing to take the time, it's a lot different when you're looking from the outside in than the inside out.
But I think that's why we're all here, is communicating, where we can understand it. And I think we're all trying really hard.
Okay. And I'm working as hard as I can to try and make it as transparent and as clear as possible.
Well, and I think everybody around the table appreciates that. And I think we've seen the numbers, and I think, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think it's clear that there's needs there. But just because, I may agree that let's go ahead and fully fund it, or we can't afford this, or we can't afford that, just because somebody may think that we can't do something doesn't mean that they don't recognize the need and that they don't want to help, but we do have limited resources. So we're going to try to do the best that we can.
Yeah, also should be noted that the Tulsa County Jail is funded with
Sales tax.
sales tax.
Again, going back to my comment about business models.
Shot.
I agree.
That's part of the problem.
Yep. And you have no control over that.
But we still have a job to do.
And it's kind of the same thing with us. We have no control over the revenues coming in. We just try to do the best job that we can around the table to make the best recommendation to the budget board as we can.
All right, let me ask a question on special revenue and service fees. When you estimated your revenues, you only did 8 months worth. So there's 4 months of revenue that aren't there.
Let me go back in a minute. Let me pull that up.
Which one?
The special rev and service fees. But you estimated your revenues only through February, and then took 90% of that, and then, built the budget based on that, but really you have 4 more months of revenue on both sides.
Service fee. Service fee, 9% of normal reoccurring, 3.6, where total actual collections so far are 3.4, so it's actually more.
But you had said on your courthouse security, that's only through February. That you had only put in your collection.
Yeah. And so,
Well, I'm saying, I'm sure it's more than 200,000 for 4 months.
I think they started collecting that until the
no, it was
November
prior
the
fiscal year.
previous year.
I've got my special revenue funds broken out. I just don't have it on this computer right now. But I'll bring a breakdown of service fee and special revenue next time we meet. If that would suffice.
Is there somebody that had to leave at 3:30 today?
Mike already left.
Okay.
I do need to leave by 4 though.
I left yesterday.
You did?
Left earlier, this is just a
I know.
an image.
Had to go to the dinner, thought we got it in here.
So what's the pleasure of the chair? We want to sit down and discuss this stuff more, or we want to break up and go home and come back tomorrow?
I wouldn't mind taking a short recess, but if we have the ability, I'd like to finish with the sheriff today, if everybody else would agree with that.
I think it's gonna take more than 30.
Well, okay.
Hey, Christie, on special revenue, just, we also factored in, though, the known revenue decreases. It wasn't just the 90%, it was also the knowns of, we knew for a fact there was going to be $626,000 less in the city, so we took that into consideration. So those were things that we had factored in. It was a known.
Weren't those associated with filings?
No, that deals with the Oklahoma City boarding agreement. The filings for courthouse security.
But is the full, on the city, the 2.2, is that a full 12 months?
I will go back and confirm all that for you. Again, like I said, I want to go back and pull those revenue spreadsheets that we have, that we operate off of on a monthly basis. I think that'll paint a better picture for you.
All right, just, do we need to take a 5-minute break? Other than that, I wanted to just do a few minutes on the sheriff's, and then we can, okay, so you ran your numbers on salary benefits based on what we talked about earlier, M&O, and capital, and that was $35,711,4912. And that would be all of detention, M&O, and all of that stuff being funded out of general fund. And it's roughly an $800,000 increase. Is there any desire to go ahead and just put all of that over in the adjustments, to kind of, I mean, it's been...
I say we do, so we know where we've left off today.
Budget board has indicated in the past that they wanted detention paid for out of general fund.
Yeah, I say we leave our sheet however we've left our, the point we got to in our discussion.
Well, but we haven't discussed the M&O increase.
I'm fine with putting that in, with what you're saying. I mean, heck, most of it, half a million was stuff we had already had on the sheet anyway, so.
Danny, can you go to the other sheet that had the breakdown of the salaries and benefits? Maybe it's in the budget detail. Can we just change those to the numbers that Scooter gave us a minute ago? Recognizing that we're still going to come back and potentially address other salaries and benefits, but the total salaries and wages that he gave was $16,000,000. $520,015.07. Benefits, what did you say? Oh, never mind, I got it. $7,154,283. M&O, $11,374,851.05. And capital was $22,000.
You're saying it's still not federal courthouse security?
Correct. Right, yeah, I mean, there's...
I want to make sure I...
Yeah,
I'm the slow learner.
there's still more heavy lifting that we'll need to do, but is there a consensus to fund this portion, at least, out of general fund? Amy?
Well, I know we would probably still want it in the other column to go further, we can put it in the.
Christie?
Yes.
Steve? Danny?
Worth follow-up discussion.
Okay. Larry?
Follow-up, I think.
Rick?
I'm fine with it.
Yep. Okay, I'm fine with it too, but we want it to be consensus, so we'll leave it over there. The only difference right now between doing it all versus what we have on the sheet is the M&O increase. Well, M&O increase, and then he had benefits a little bit lower than what we had, so the offset was like $300,000 is what the difference is. All right, anything else? Does everybody want to sleep on this? So,
Are we gonna recess?
yeah.
For what time?
I've got a 1 to 2:30, it's gonna be hard to get out of.
Thursday?
the calendars. I'm busy tomorrow afternoon and morning. Policy group meets at 10.
On Thursday, I could do Thursday afternoon and/or tomorrow morning after VOCC.
Tomorrow morning after the OCC.
You can or cannot?
Cannot.
Thursday at 1? Does 1 work for everybody? Okay, is there a motion to recess until 1 o'clock on Thursday, May the 11th, 2017? Motion second, all in favor? Aye.